All righty. So our following application is number 4. Oh, Mr. DeAndrea has his hand up. Mr. DeAndrea, before we let him in, is going to tell us it's a good plan. Been emailing us that today.
Madam Chair, I'm recused on this application.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much, Mr. McRae. You have a business interest in this application, Mr. McRae?
I'm consulting to the applicant.
Thank you. All righty. Mr. DeAndrea is in. I'm just pulling out Mr. Haslund. Okay, Mr. DeAndrea. The fourth application is 33 Mosher LLC for a final site plan and special permit to construct a new 2-unit residential building on an undersized parcel, and that this will include front yard parking. As a result, this is a special permit to the Planning and Zoning Commission. At 33 Mosher Street, the parcel is 6,013 square feet. So there are 2 reasons it's before us. One is that it's undersized, and the other is the front yard parking. Mr. DeAndrea, other than having submitted a good plan, would you
Good
like to
afternoon.
give
And
us the
it
overview?
is, I do believe it is a very good plan because, oh, and by the way, my name is Tony DeAndrea and I'm representing the applicant, which is 33 Mosher Street LLC. They purchased the property a few months ago, and one of the first efforts they made was apply for demolition of the extremely derelict structure that existed there. That had a setback of about 7 feet from the street. It was in very poor condition, overgrown, and that was demolished under a permit. The application is for a site with 6,013 square feet, which puts it deficient in the R6 zone by area. Therefore, we are here for a special permit, and also because we have access to the property from an adjacent property. I wanted to correct something for the record. The parking is in the side yard and does not constitute a problem. It's all in accordance with town zoning regulations.
That's not what's in our staff report.
It was misinterpreted yesterday at your briefing.
No, sir, it was misinterpreted. Staff has this. Am I in the right one? No, hold on a second. No, it's in our staff report. So
Yes.
we need some clarification on this, because yes,
Yeah,
it came up that we were on the, hold on a second, Mr. DeAndrea, let me finish the sentence. So it came up that it's side yard as we were talking about it. But there is a sentence in here in our staff report about the parking partially being in the front yard. So
yeah.
is that because part of it protrudes into the front yard?
Yes. So there's
Okay.
a small portion of one of the proposed parking spaces that extends slightly north of the front wall of the parking. So technically, there might be consideration by the commission that there's parking in the front yard. Certainly, the commission has the opportunity under special permit to recognize that landscaping could shield that. The option, of course, would be to eliminate the parking space, which would be counterproductive in my opinion.
I
Therefore,
agree.
we would ask the commission to consider that favorably. What we proposed here is 2 parking spaces in garages, 1 for each unit, 2 parking spaces that are tandem in front of the garages, and then we have 2, I call them wing spaces, to accommodate a typical family of one of the tenants or owners, residents wants to park outside. The other partner, tenant, or spouse could park in the garage. If the southern unit had the same situation, they would never conflict with each other. So it's a good plan in that regard, that we have 3 parking spaces available for each unit without conflict in any way to the other. And the back out area by easement over the adjacent 20-foot wide access way provides the zoning compliant backup area of more than 23 feet. The house is set to be 25 and a half feet from the street, and it's also 25.1 foot, 25.5 feet from the rear property line, which then provides more room as it splays out to the southwest. The proposal is to provide permeable pavement under the driveway to accommodate the drainage. Conservation Commission had recommended that we consider that. We did, of course, consider that from the beginning. We also have drainage under the front yard between the street and the building. The sanitary sewer will go out to Mosier Street. One of the units will be served by an existing lateral. We did provide a letter to the sewer department agreeing to all conditions that may be imposed on the sewer permit. The tree warden will be consulted if we propose a tree in the right of way, which at this point we are not planning to do. There was a overgrown hedge that was in the property line when the house was demolished. That hedge was removed. It was poorly maintained and needed to be either severely trimmed or removed. It was removed. Drainage, the DPW agreed that the drainage report is fine, and that there are a couple of minor issues that we will address during the building permit. One of which is to just provide a cross section of the foundation to clarify the elevation of the basement. There was another question from conservation as to whether or not turf meant turf, as in artificial turf or grass. The landscaping plan, of course, is to have lawn where possible. The landscape plan, we understand that the final version of it will be signed and sealed by a licensed landscape architect in the state of Connecticut. The intention, of course, is to provide some landscaping along the perimeter to provide privacy around the lot. And the choice of the plants will be reviewed with staff if that's appropriate. The preliminary plan was prepared by the architect, who's a member of the architectural review board, so I'm sure she can gather some consultation from that august body. And I think that really summarizes the main points. I did want to point out that the green area for the proposal is about 58%, where 35% would be required. The maximum building area is only 26.7%, well under the allowable 30%. There is very little grading to be done around the building, the proposed building, to affect that design. And unless there are some other questions, that would conclude my brief presentation for what I do consider to be a very good plan.
Does anybody have any questions on this application? Mr. Wells?
Yeah, Mr. DeAndrea, if you just clarify, you went, for me anyway, a little bit fast on the parking. So as I understand, each of the
Patrick, could you throw it up?
each of the two units, do they each have two garage spaces?
No, each has
No, no.
one garage space,
No.
one tandem space. This is the best way to look at it is here.
Okay,
And then one 90-degree space. So each unit has 3 parking spaces with obviously, as you're looking at this, that it's tandem and that the moment you're in the tandem, you're blocking the garage. But if you were in the 90-degree, you would not be. So
Correct. That's the beauty of it, is that the proposed spaces are flanking the exit, if you will, of the garage, so that there's never a conflict in backing or ingress and egress. Each unit has the prerogative of deciding which member of the family unit will park in the garage or in the tandem space. And we have the additional advantage of having another place to park on a Saturday if you're coming and going. So it really works out well. And more importantly, it satisfies the requirement for the town zoning regulations. I will point out one more unique aspect of this is that we were able to do the tandem parking because we're not fronting on a street. If we were, then the highway regulations would theoretically limit the entrance to 14 feet at the property line. So here we have the ability to do approximately 20 feet wide, totally in compliance with the regulations and accommodating the eventuality of backing out of the tandem space or the garage onto the driveway to exit, driving forward onto Mosier Street.
okay, I got it. So you back out of there and then you can turn around and go forward on the Mosier Street, because
Yes,
that
it's
was
a-
an issue before. Got it.
Yes, it's just a one-way, 90-degree back out, just like you do
Yeah.
out of every garage, out into the driveway, and then proceed out forward onto Mosher.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I'll let everybody else go. Mr. Wells, you're done, right?
Yep, thank you.
All right, Madam Jones and then Madam Jenkins.
All right, so Mr. DeAndrea, I just wanted to clarify. So the landscape plan that we have in our package is going to be totally updated.
Yes, it's fair to say it's going to be updated, but I think it's a fair representation of what they were proposing to do, which is to provide some perimeter parking, planting around the front and rear boundaries, and also to shield it from the driveway as the neighbor to the rear would enter the driveway to go home. There are proposals to put a little bit of landscaping in front of the I'm going to say front stoop on the side of the house. The front door, if you will, is on the side of the house on the east side, but there's proposal for landscaping there also. This plan did, I don't know if the intent was to say existing or proposed tree, but there might be a proposal to put a tree, and there were 2 red maples shown on the landscape plan, one in the northeast corner and one generally behind the house. So I think in the final analysis, the idea is to consult with a licensed landscape architect and refine this plan, but the proposal is consistent with what they would like to do.
But there's basically nothing, the trees that they say to be remained in the hedge, those are gone.
There were what had existed here were 2 very stressed dogwoods on the about where that existing tree to remain is listed, and then there was one to the west side of the house, which would put it about opposite the garage, the proposed garage. So it was on the west property line, about midpoint of the existing house, which was a small square. So regardless, the 3 dogwoods that were there are gone. And dogwoods need a lot of attention. They didn't get it, and they were in poor condition.
Really? They do? Do fine without it. Madam Jenkins,
Um,
or are
yeah.
you not done, Ms. Jones? You're good. Okay, Madam Jenkins.
Yeah, just to follow up further on the landscape plan. So what we have right now is kind of a plan that's a concept plan and would need to be corrected and additional detail put in. So what we have is an idea of what they intend to do, but we don't have anything that resembles that in the file right now.
I would say that this landscape plan could be planted, and you'd be very happy with it. There was just one little discrepancy in that it said existing tree to remain. So
Actually, no, the Conservation Department had asked for additional native species
and
to
we're
replace the non-native selections and for tree protection. So there is
True.
going to be some change versus what we have, but we did that. So
Correct.
just to
So
clarify.
what the landscaping plan that was submitted does include is how to protect trees during the planting and how they would be staked and protected. The conservation comments to make sure that you have more native plants, we certainly agree with, and the landscape plan will be modified to that extent. Yesterday, there was discussion amongst your members that it would be appropriate to work with staff, which in that time was Jackie, to make sure that we met the requirements and suggestions from the conservation individual, Rebecca Poirier. So we're more than happy to agree to that condition, and it would be done prior to releasing the memo from P&Z that everything was satisfied.
Thank you.
The one thing I missed you mentioning, and maybe you said it, Mr. DeAndrea, is this the tree warden coordination that both DPW and conservation had
At this
asked?
moment, there's no need for coordination with the tree warden unless we propose to do a tree in the street right away.
Right,
this-
and that's exactly right. So that it would be whether anything that you do in the town right of way regarding plantings would have to be coordinated. Yeah,
Yes,
we got it.
that is correct, and we understand
Yeah.
that, yes.
Okay, so we would condition you that way if we were to
Yes.
approve this.
Yes.
Okay, anything else in the commission? Seeing nothing further, does anyone from the public wish to comment on this application at 33 Mosher? This is a two-family building going in at the 33 Mosher Street in the R6. This is an undersized parcel. All right, I see no comments from the public. Again, raise your virtual hand if you have any comment on 33 Mosher. Seeing no comment, does anyone object to this application being closed at this time? Seeing no objection, this application is hereby closed and we move on. Thank you, Mr. DeAndrea.
Thank you very much.
Mr. McRae, come on back. And Mr. Hegney is back, and now without Mr. Thomason.
Madam Chair, if we could just interrupt for if I can interrupt for 1 second.
Yeah.
Item 1,
Yes,
the
I know.
agenda.
Say it again. I've said it. I've told Mr. Wald like 4 times. I've announced it.
well, I think he may be interested in West End, but I see other people who may be
Yeah.
here. The
Yeah.
item 1, 290 Greenwich Avenue, the statute proposal by the first selectman has been postponed to a later meeting and probably in October. But it is not being discussed tonight. So if you're here and wanted to speak to that, you have earned yourself a night off, and we'll see you at a later meeting.
Okay, Mr. Hegney. Our next application, number 5, is Taco Project Greenwich LLC for a zoning map amendment to amend section 6205.1, the schedule of building lines within the town's building zone regulations to include the northern side of Railroad Avenue, which is 99, 95, 91, 87, 89, and 85 Railroad Avenue. All 5 parcels are within the CGBR and CGIO zones. Mr. Hegney, you heard us at the briefing. I'm curious to get all the background from you.
All right. Thank you, Madam Chair. Members of the Commission, for the record, Tom Hegney on behalf of the applicant. The applicant here is Taco Project, and that's who I'm representing. They are a tenant and have signed a lease for space at 91 Railroad Avenue, which was the longtime home of the Greenwich Cigar Store. The property, the store itself is 1,440 gross square feet. The Taco Project is a restaurant that has a few stores in Westchester and one in Stamford. And as part of their business plan, they also serve alcohol. To have an liquor license for a restaurant, you need a minimum of 20 seats. And the
Right.
floor area
We
of
know
this
that.
space would equate to 7 parking spaces, which would not yield 20 seats because there is a 20% requirement for staff beyond just the one parking space for 3 seats. That's what brings us here. There's nothing else other than that. When I met with staff and went over what we were looking to do for this store before my client signed the lease, it was suggested that an extension of the rear building line might be the appropriate solution, given what these properties are here on Railroad Avenue. And that's the only reason that we're submitting. I don't think there is any other benefit, frankly, to putting in this rear building line other than that. And from a planning standpoint, I think it makes a lot of sense. And that's because these 5 properties were developed prior to any zoning regulations. 4 of the 5 buildings constructed in 1898. They have virtually no parking on site. And 4 of the 5 buildings already have restaurants, and 3 of them also have liquor licenses. They are directly across the street from the train station with a large building next door at 55 Railroad Avenue. On the other side of the tracks is Greenwich Plaza, the 2 4-story buildings. And there is also a great deal of foot traffic at the bottom part of the avenue, with all the commuters coming on and off the trains. We're only proposing the rear building line. There is no front building line on Railroad Avenue. Thanks. So it's only the rear building line. So the heavy red line is the one that we're proposing and eliminating the one that is behind the M&T Bank building that is to the east of these 5 parcels. As you can see, they're rather small, and none of these would be exempt under the regulations without a front building line from the FAR. But if we can go back a couple of slides, I prepared this, I'm sorry, the chart. We can look at the chart. So this is off the assessor's field cards. The first floor on all of the buildings is retail, and as I said, 4 of them are all already restaurants. The second floor on all of them is also residential, and 85 Railroad Avenue only has 2 floors. The others also have apartments on the 3rd floor. So the total floor area, as you can see, exceeds the lot area for all of them. So I don't see where there is any opportunity for any further development. I would add that each of the parcels is owned by a separate owner. There's no common ownership of any of them. For example, 95 Railroad Avenue, where the restaurant, the diner is, that's been in the family probably 50 years or close to it. And so what we have here is what I would say is what the front and rear building lines were really set up to do back in 1960, that you don't have to require parking for this. Now, was there additional land behind them that could be taken for parking, as is the case behind Saks and behind CVS? There isn't that, but there is also other examples of a rear building line for the Morgan Manhattan and the buildings that are also of a similar vintage on Bruce Park Avenue, between Bruce Park Avenue and the railroad tracks. And you also dealt with this very recently, earlier this month, with the application at 240 Greenwich Avenue, and approved
So
that.
we extended the line back on an existing.
You moved the line back, yes, so that it included all
This
of the property that was part of 240.
Quite different. I'm sorry, Mr. Hegney, but that's quite different. Extending the line on one property that was split by it is one thing. Creating a new line on new properties is a different issue. Go ahead.
Well, but it does include more property within the rear building line, which has the same impact as what we're looking at here, where it does not require parking for that particular property. And the Morgan Manhattan building, that was done not too long ago. The buildings on East Elm Street were done, I think, in the 90s, 91. So you have examples of modifications to the building line map that have occurred since its first adoption in 1960. There were a bunch that were done in 1978 as well. And as this has developed here and maintained basically the same configuration for well over 100 years, I think that providing relief here from the parking requirement is appropriate as a way of encouraging these businesses to continue to remain. And of course, you have the apartments that will remain as well. If you couldn't find a better place to put something like this, other than across from the train station. And I would submit to you that this also supports maintaining a vibrant commercial area at a mass transit hub. I think that that's really what makes sense here. You're not going to get a lot of people driving here. This is going to be awful lot of foot traffic coming from the office buildings during lunch, and those people who are going home and commuting by train. So we believe that this, to steal Mr. DeAndrea's thunder, is a good plan. We think it makes a lot of sense. And that's why we brought it to you after our discussions with staff.
Thank you. Any questions from the commission? No. Okay. So, Mr. Hegney.
Well, I
Okay,
have
Mr.
one.
Wells,
It's a
go
minor
ahead.
question. Mr. Hagney, I couldn't figure out where lot 89 is. On the map,
No.
it shows the other ones, but could you point out where lot 89 is?
You know, I was worried about doing that because 89 and 87 are one lot, and that's the Plaza Restaurant.
Okay.
The Plaza Restaurant is 89 and 87.
Okay, gotcha. Okay,
It-
thank you.
It's just how the field card reads. I was going to pick a number, but that's the designation on the assessor's field card.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Yeski.
Yeah, obviously, on the one hand, eliminating parking behind each one of these is risky because of the lack of parking. We also have the train station going in. There's parking there. There is parking that might be accessed down across the tracks. I don't know whether Mr. Hegney's talked about some kind of a valet situation, or is it number two, I guess is my thought. This is like a unique retail area right across from the train station. And you're making out like, hey, people aren't going to park to go there. Well, some of the restaurants they do, but there's no park. I'm not parking to really satisfy. There's just something about this area that's very unique. And I'm wondering if we should take a closer look at it. Is there some kind of a special zone here of some sort? I don't know. It's just a reaction at this point. But Mr. Hegney, what about valet, or what about getting some parking designated on the other side of the tracks? I think you know where I'm talking about.
Well, certainly there's the garage that is under Greenwich Plaza, and then there's the Island Beach parking lot and the parking along there. And when I used to go to the movie theater, when it was there, that's where I would park.
Right.
And
They didn't have
So,
any special arrangement though, right? If you went, you try
No.
to find a park, a space based on
Right.
the time you were there, right?
yeah.
But,
And
but
and obviously in the evening, there's plenty of parking
right,
in the Island Beach lot.
correct. And the
then
movies that
there's
would
no
work.
cost after 5.
For the movies that would work because it is mostly at night, but for these restaurants, not so much.
I would submit that the traffic during the day for lunch is really going to come from these office buildings.
That's,
Uh,
go ahead.
and in the evening, you have parking along Steamboat Road and the parking lot at Island Beach that provide more than adequate parking. And that's, I talked to Katie about beautifying the overpass of 95 so that it would be more user friendly. We were thinking of something with
No, we
changing
tried that.
colors and all kinds of things, and that
No.
didn't work out. The state was not particularly.
The state was not
enamored with
friendly.
that.
No, the state was not friendly about it. No,
But,
no.
but going back to the other point, is there any logic to restrict the use of this area, given its location, to uses that don't likely generate parking? You mentioned people are going to walk to the train station. They're on their way home. They already parked somewhere else. I don't know whether that's possible or not, but it just kind of says, hey, we just can't open up the use to anything. And if the parking becomes a gigantic issue and there's no restriction on it, that could be a real mess down there. So just a thought, is there any way to change the use of this area so that we really are only looking at uses that don't require parking.
Well,
So,
my thought is you're not looking at very large spaces. You know, they're all 1,400 to 1,598 square feet. These are not large stores, and they have sort of self-designated themselves as a restaurant location because 4 of the 5 are already restaurants. And I know that, as I said, the Plaza restaurant is the owners of the building own the restaurant. My client has entered into a long-term lease as a restaurant space, and the one next to M&T Bank, which had been McDuff's, has also been a long-time restaurant along with the Thai restaurant. So I think it has sort of designated itself as a restaurant use over a long period of time. And
But if you max
that's
out
why
those
my
rest-
client thought it was
Right.
a good location to open his restaurant.
if you max out the seating in those restaurants, how many parking would normally be required?
Uh,
one for every 3
It's
seats
one
of
for every
table and
3
one for every
seats.
2 of bar. Mr. Hegney has told you that it might be 20 seats. He has to get 20 seats in. He hasn't disclosed what he might be able to do with a bar. He may not. But you're assuming, say, for rounding purposes, that you would require 7 parking spaces.
Times,
And,
Well,
well,
you'd
that's
require
7 in
it would be a
total.
minimum of 9 because you have the 20% for staff. That's also part of the
So,
parking calculation.
thank you for that. I appreciate that
so
transparency.
you
with that.
round to 10, and you've got 5 building sites, right?
There you go.
So you need 50 you need 50 parking. And
So-
I don't know what happens to M&T Bank, by the way. They're not part of this, right? They're on Greenwich Avenue.
No, they're not part of this. They
Right.
were
Right. No,
excluded.
they have a front building line already, and they do have some parking, and they do have a security guard out there, not just to protect the bank, but also to protect their parking spaces, which
But
may
if
be more of a
you
challenge.
follow through on your application, it's likely that they and Michelangelo people are going to park in the same space back there. So even though they're not part of it, they're going to end up consuming parking spaces back there. Probably quite a few of them.
It's more for deliveries and for refuse back there. The alley that you have behind these 5 buildings is very tight.
And that's the point.
And
I mean, not a lot of parking. We're looking at 50 plus requirement, even if you talk the restaurant, not including M&T. That's the dilemma that you're putting us in. You're pitching that you don't need all that. I'm pitching to
Exactly.
say maybe there's a way to restrict the uses so that we can ensure that we don't end up looking at 50 or 60 cars that are looking for new spaces at this point in time. Although
So-
some of them already parked somewhere else, clearly. So I don't know. I've just,
Mr. Yeski, if I could build on what you're saying and just kind of step it back a bit to what we were talking about yesterday, what I'm interested in, and Mr. Hegney, you have the historic background, so you could give us a better review of this if you dug in, but we can ask staff. We've changed the building lines on a few occasions in the past. I would like to know the rationale that was used. What was the justification and what were the reasons given in the record? What did the decision letters state? Patrick, we can probably pull out those decision letters. I would like to see them. What I'm looking for is if we are amending 6205 as pertains to the avenue, I would like to be the underlying thought process to have consistency. Again, the goal of this commission is for its decisions to be predictable and grounded in some sort of solid zoning consideration. I'm curious to see what that was. So that's the first thing I was asking yesterday, what that looks like. Then the question we asked staff and would like to see from staff, I think that's better for staff to do, is if these properties were to be simultaneously demolished, and Mr. McRae raised this yesterday, at one point in the far future, what is the max build out that would be permitted under the rear building line scenario and under the no building line scenario? What's the max build out? Because we're talking about potentially an close to an 8,000 square foot footprint on these existing buildings. It's a very different use that could go in if you put them together. But again, we have some restrictions on what the total building could be. So I would like to see what max build out is. Patrick, do you want to comment on that?
Well, Mr. Hegney did a rough number of that in his presentation today, and it's more or less what I did on the back of a napkin at the briefing yesterday. But so these are all overdeveloped lots, Madam Chair. So there would be no potential.
Again, they have, yes, but on the overdevelopment, they have, as Madam Jenkins pointed out yesterday, and Mr. Hegney will be happy to know that under 8.2, yes, I'm looking at that. He gets to keep all that nonconformity, but I'm making a different point. You now get potentially one ground floor of quite the size, of a much different size. So I'm curious to see exactly what you would get in a little more depth.
Okay.
Because what we know, I mean, so if you had no FAR, where are you on the other? Just to make sure that we're comparing the two scenarios. And then what is the history on, because when I looked at where we've amended building lines in the past, the only one that really puzzled me was Morgan Manhattan. And I raised that at the briefing yesterday. I didn't understand Morgan Manhattan. And I think that was in the 90s. I wasn't around, wasn't even born yet. Don't know what the rationale was. So why did we do that? When the other ones I could see that you're within the existing building line framework already, and you could maybe make that argument here, but I would like the argument to be consistent with past decisions, not just a, oh, well, we need to have 20 seats, and so that's the only way we can have a liquor license. But what works for the town's plan of development? What does our comprehensive plan look like, and how are we being consistent? Then you dovetail in with, is this zoning change consistent with the POCD? And Mr. Hegney, you have well argued the point that you see it as enhancing existing businesses. The concern we raised yesterday was whether it would negatively impact the surrounding businesses, because we are hearing constantly from people who don't want to go to the avenue because they can't find parking in the evening, particularly at the bottom of the avenue. No required parking. In addition, we have talked in our planning sessions about actually when we get a project in the avenue that is over X, that we may want to consider a very large project having required parking and amending the building line scenario, because we're worried that the avenue could actually lose, you know, go to the Yogi Berra situation. It's so crowded, nobody goes there anymore. And that's our fear. And hey, I realize that we go from fear to fear, because in 2018, and I mentioned it yesterday, we were worried there was nobody on the avenue. Now we're worried there's too many people on the avenue. So we're always managing the avenue. We get it. And we know that we can be a little schizophrenic about it, because it's I think everybody would agree it's one of our crown jewels. So I would ask for background on the decisions so we can be consistent. What's the max that we could do? And I guess really, Patrick, you've answered a lot. I was looking at the entire, let me ask you this question. If you didn't have the required parking, you're not limited by floor area, but you are limited by height and coverage. Could you actually expand any of those existing footprints to include what is currently that parking behind that nobody's allowed into, and Mr. Hegney's correct. I have been stopped from trying to go in there. It is not public parking. So I just want to make sure that we understand the implication, as Mr. Yeski was mentioning, and that we know the history. Does anybody else want to add to that? Wow. Okay, Mr. Leroux, you still have your hand up. Did you want to?
Well, you had asked me a question, so I don't know if you.
Okay, that was before the rant. Okay, go ahead.
No, I'm just making sure that you're done with
Yeah.
your.
So I see that. I see what he provided us, and I'm looking at, so if they merge the lots. Does that sound familiar, Mr. Hagney? If they merge the lots, and yes, they get to keep existing non-conform, where does it go? So I just want to make sure we have a handle on the potential, which is where Mr. Yeski and Mr. McRae have been going. But I want the history and the consistency with the law and the POCD. Good, solid precedent. Anything else from anybody? All right, public comment. I don't think this is really on people's radar. Mr. Tessie wants to speak about this. Okay, so public comment. Mr. Tessie, I just want you to know that Mr. Basili is what, oh, did you bring him in? His hand went back down. Mr. Tessie.
It doesn't look, no, his hand is still up.
Oh. All right, got it.
Of course, he's been successful at getting a rear building line relocated.
I know that, but again, he was
recently,
moving.
like earlier this month.
Mr. Hagney, we're zoning geeks here. Mr. Tessie relocated an existing
Right up on top.
building line at 240 Greenwich Avenue. You are proposing to create a new one. They are not the same thing. Mr. Tessie, I know, don't give me the big sigh. I mean, come on.
I just wanted to
Mr.
practice
Tessie,
a
go
little
ahead.
bit before I made my presentation so I could find out whether Mr. Basili is going to be happy.
Okay, Mr. Basili,
So-
you're supervising Mr. Tessie now.
Just to keep it moving, I can make a couple of comments that, well, I think are worthy. You may not think
Okay.
so. First, I worked with Diane Fox when she was director in connection with the Morgan Manhattan building, which project at that time. That moving of the, believe it or not, that the moving of the rear line was suggested by Diane. And also to change the zone from CGB to CGBR. The logic at that time was that she considered the site as we did, an extension basically of Greenwich Avenue. Just because it's on that side of the light, the south side of the light, it was really an extension of the avenue. Now, we did have a non-conforming building at the time there, both in terms of the use, which is still there now. Project never got built. It was to be a retail, the project that was part and parcel of was actually a retail, primarily a retail building. And we were going to be providing parking. I can't remember its full parking, but the project would have been over 20,000 square feet, so parking would have been required in that particular instance. But the concept of the town planner at the time was that it was logical to have that extension. Of course, now you have also which I always thought was a matter of time, a request of the building owner or owners to our east to extend that line or convert their CGB properties to CGBR. And you heard that, I believe, at your last meeting, in fact. Yeah, and I understand that's stable. But I wanted to give you a bit of the history about the 240, about
Right.
240. You've already talked about that, about the Morgan Manhattan building in the logic that it was really considered part and parcel of, if you will, the Greenwich Avenue corridor. And that basically digresses back to Tom's application. I actually represent John Ferreri, which you all know, but he's the owner of 85 Railroad Avenue. I can't tell you the number of leases since he's bought it that we entered into where the tenant closed shop. And for a variety of reasons. But the main one was no customers, not enough customers. We certainly did have restaurant tenants. I tried to work, I'm sure I talked to Patrick a few times about how creative we can get to get more than the 12 seats. The commission, at the end of the day, during our various concepts that we brought to the commission, and we brought 2 or 3, or at least administratively, just didn't feel, the inclination to be accommodating there one way or the other, as a one-off at that time, right? The idea of bringing the block in, to me, is a creative solution and a needed solution.
Okay.
And it actually,
Okay, Mr.
Go ahead.
Tessie, I think the
Yeah.
important thing is that you gave us the history, but I'd like to get it in writing. And I see that Mr. Ferrari has agreed to be part of this, so I'm understanding that you endorse this proposal.
Yeah.
But I'd like the background, and I just want to make sure, here's the risk. What
Yeah.
happens in the CGBR, what happens in the CGB if we begin to extend those building lines broader than they are now without a real solid rationale? The next 2 Tessies and Hegnies that come in are going to say to us, well, you gave it just as Mr. Hegney did today, which I tried
Well-
to stop it. Wait, Mr. Tessie, I
That's
tried to
okay.
stop him 3 times because I didn't want him to say, well, you already did it over here, because that's exactly, if we haven't set a good precedent, if there's not a rationale, then we are setting ourselves up to have people ask us to do it elsewhere. And why don't you let me have no parking requirement? And it would be disastrous for the avenue. So we have to have a rationale, and that's all I'm asking. And if you wouldn't mind, I think that was enough input.
I
done.
just want to make one other brief point, and that is that as Tom pointed out, you have a number of restaurants already there that are legally non-conforming in terms of their seating. What it's worth, of course, a change in the zoning would clean up that non-conforming. This is always a goal to clean those up. Secondly, with this area, basically I mean, I could see what it basically is there is, given the size, is equivalent to a food court. In essence, if Tom's client's property and John's, become restaurants. Seating is limited because size is limited. Second floor restaurants are not permitted. You do have, so you've got some tempering in there. Your comment about, the new John Tessie and old Tom, I don't think you have to worry about 25 or 30 years from now. We'll still be practicing the rate we're going. So you'll always be dealing with us, God forbid, but sorry to tell you that.
Wait, what? I hate to
Bruce
tell you
has sort
this.
of led the way for us.
Yeah, Bruce has led the way. We're not quitting until Bruce goes.
Swan, Louisa just stepped down. Louisa Stone just stepped down from the RTM. Y'all are thinking of being around
No,
until you're 103. Oh my, okie doke.
Speaking of Swan, let me interject something, which to me is interesting. You'll appreciate this. Tom was on the commission with Swan. Tom was chairman a few times, but Swan was a very special person. In fact, in working with people. And I'll digress to my story with Diane again. So when it came time for the first really true 6110G project that had some meaning, it was what's now known as Greenwich Court, across from First Bank of Greenwich, that has the deck, the units on top,
We
the
know
bank
it is.
building and units also, and we had
Yep.
affordable units there.
Yep.
And when a client was looking to pick out a name, I said, why don't you name it Swan Court?
It's already
The
one.
original name of Greenwich Court was Swan Court, and it was a little bit of a testament to Swan and her efforts on that affordable housing project. Because there are other members of the commission, I won't name who at the time, who didn't like the idea of affordable housing. Basically, that commission member felt that if your kids couldn't afford it, they should move to Norwalk.
Oh, yeah,
So-
I've heard that one.
Yeah, right. So I just a little testament and a shout out to Swan.
Thank you for
Sam
that.
Warrington.
So
I'll leave you alone for
for a few
5
minutes.
and be back.
It's
Okay.
just a few minutes. Okay, so Mr. Hagney, your partner in crime has, does anybody else from the public wish to speak on this application on Railroad Avenue to eliminate parking requirements? Mr. LaRoe?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just, because I don't think I heard Mr. Hegney make this point, and I just want to make it for all listening. The preclusions for some of the zoning criteria in the zone are predicated on a front and a rear building line, not a rear. So the rear, really, in shorthand, is only applies to the parking contingency for uses and does not modify the floor area ratio or the coverages and the other things perhaps, and I don't know if the commission wants to instruct the applicant to do this or staff, but perhaps the revision needs to control some of the parking. And so that would be the focus on the next work would be, some suggested language changes to when, is there a cap for parking? Is there a certain number of
An
occupancies,
interesting idea, Mr.
that type of
LaRoe.
thing? I just
Very.
put it out there.
So that's a very interesting idea because you're asking Mr. Hegney and Mr. Tessie, who are both engaged with us, to help us do some of our thinking and some of the thinking that has been here, which is one way of protecting the avenue would be if over a certain use level, we did require parking. And a small location like the one you're dealing with, Mr. Hegney, we did not. Now, you may not want to get that complicated, but that's the big question we've been kicking around when we've been discussing regulations is how do we protect the avenue? And again, you don't want to go crazy with parking requirements, but how do you manage it? That would help along with the history of what the factors have been. I just want to make sure that we said, these were the factors at the time, and we're going to do a very similar thing or not. And I don't think we have anything else from the commission. Mr. Hegney, did you want to respond to all that?
I have a couple of thoughts, Madam Chair, but rather than going into them now, what my thought is to get some answers to the questions that you posed and bring those back. And Mr. Tessie and I will tag team you at the next meeting.
That sounds like it'll be a very interesting conversation. Okay,
Well, we'll do it as a duet.
Okay, mustaches
It's been a while
included.
since we did that.
No,
Yeah.
it's been a really long time since you guys have done that. Okay, great. So you know where we're going. Again, I'm not trying to be hard-nosed about this. I'm just saying protect the avenue first and foremost and be consistent in our zoning regulations.
And I think overall, this is a good planning approach. That's why after talking to Pat about it for a while, I brought this in to you. And I realized that with your discussion yesterday and our hearing tonight, that there is more information that I think would be helpful and positive in terms of considering this favorably.
And that you'd help, we really need to get our heads around the broader problem is how do we ensure that all the businesses in the CGBR can continue to thrive? And that we have set up regulations to do that. That's really the biggest challenge.
And restaurants and retail stores are not necessarily competing. They're more complementary. because someone comes for lunch and then they go walking up the avenue and buy something, or they're going to a store to specifically buy something and they say, gee, it's lunchtime. Why don't I go have lunch at the restaurant? So these are not competing necessarily uses. They're more complementary.
But it's the nighttime use on the avenue that seems to be, well, again, Craig Gray gave us peak times at one point. Patrick, I don't know if the new parking people have done that. A while back, he gave us, I think he was captain at that point, but he gave us when the max demand was on the avenue and when it got tight. Weekends in the evenings, I think, was one of them. Probably we could get just a bunch of people from the public to tell us what they find is the very worst.
It's probably noon to 3, Monday through Friday,
And Saturdays, he said.
and then Saturday.
He
Yep.
said the peak pedestrian on weekends is really high. And that is one of the reasons that the bump outs ended up being challenging, is because you have such a large number of pedestrians and you had given up intersection control. Not that the bump outs were a bad idea, but that you simultaneously were giving up intersection control. And then you have the cars circling looking for parking.
Yeah, in the evening, this end of the avenue has the benefit of the
Of the
parking
train
along
station.
Steamboat and
Yep.
at the Island Beach lot.
Yeah. Not a walk that some of us would make. But
That
okay, it's
gets
there.
back to our other discussion about
Lighting.
making it more pedestrian friendly.
And we talked to Fred from the first day he walked into office. It was one of the first things he and I talked about, is this idea of how do we connect the avenue with the part set to the south, and how do we make it more welcoming, because it's darker than we would like.
I'd even talked to Katie about a mural artist that would come
We
in
did.
and paint murals on it.
And in fact, you'll laugh to know that I didn't let it die, and I recently approached the Bruce again.
Hmm.
No, I still have it in my tickler, but no dice. The people working on the train station weren't interested. Okay, so we'll see you when you come back. It doesn't look like we have a must close on this. We only have a
No, we have
must
plenty
open.
of time on it.
So maximum,
But
so
having said that, my client does want to know whether he can
No, we
proceed
get that.
with
And
opening his restaurant or
Mr. Hegney,
working on his restaurant or not.
I probably should have said that while Mr. Tessie was here. When you push us on a must close, you guys, when the attorneys do, it doesn't accelerate our process. We don't try to delay an application on anybody. We try to get them closed as fast as we can. So when you give us a must close and we don't have time to resolve the issues, it doesn't help. I'm just saying, I don't think it helps the process.
It does to a certain extent, because the various town departments that report to you,
Oh,
if they know that the meeting has been postponed a couple of weeks, their
They slack off.
incentive to get it done
Okay.
quickly abates. So
With
there is
us-
some method to our madness here.
So, but your trade-off is, I quote a commissioner who said a couple of weeks ago at a briefing, why do I have a gun to my head? So we feel, hey, we're trying to move this quickly, but we want to get the issues resolved. We know that our service is to address all the issues as quickly as we can. Okay, so I'll let you go and I'll see you later. Right?
I'll see you at the next one.
Yep. Oh, you're doing Eagle View, right?
I am.
Okie dokie. So are you doing it with anybody?
No, well, Mr. Granoff, our architect,
there's
is
Mr.
here, and
Granoff.
SE Minor's here. I wasn't going to ask them to necessarily speak
No.
unless there were questions that
No,
the commission has.
no,
so-
we're good. Okay. We are good. Our next application is number 7. Eagle View Holding LLC for a final site plan and special permit to demolish an existing skilled nursing facility and construct a 4-story, 170-unit assisted housing development where 30% of the proposed units, 51 units, would be designated affordable per state statutes. There's parking for 294 vehicles, and the property is 15.893 acres at 11.65 King Street. Ms. Jenkins has her hand up because the trust has been working on this application. It has been converted to a government-assisted project, so it will be priced, tenants will be priced at 150% of state median income as opposed to AMI, based on the HUD change.
And I'm
And-
recused, Madam Chair.
So as co-chair of the Housing Trust, Ms. Jenkins is recused. Thank you, ma'am. And with that, Mr. Hegney, speaking of deadlines, so one of the issues for us on this is we would like, we saw some important outstanding issues at the briefing yesterday, and concerns were raised about us having a closing deadline tonight. So let's get to, now, Mr. Granoff, you got to pay attention to the road, okay? So let's get to all those big issues, if you would,
Madam
Mr. Hegney.
Chair, you know what I wanted to do is go through where we are on this project, because we haven't had an opportunity to discuss it with you until recently, and because it was just on the August 5th agenda. So
Before you
evening,
start, Mr.
commission
Hegney,
members.
before you start, Mr. Hegney, Ms.
Yes.
Jones continues to be seated and is now seated for Mr. Lowe on this application. Go ahead, Mr. Hegney, catch us up on everything that's evolved.
Great. Thank you, Madam Chair. So to start off, we received a preliminary decision from the commission back in December of 2023. And that was for a building that we had proposed as 215 apartments and 5 stories rather than the 170 and 4 stories that we have as part of this revised final site plan application. Through the process, we've received wetland approval and a wetland permit. We've received, as you stated earlier, an affordable housing trust fund financial assistance grant or loan. We have recently received sign off from engineering to proceed to a building permit. We have updated our traffic counts and submitted a updated traffic report responding to both Beta's and the town traffic engineer's comments. We've provided a letter from Mr. Granoff responding to the Westchester Planning Department's letter on sound attenuation, and his letter indicates sound attenuation, both windows and walls, will be included in construction of the project. We provide significant on-site amenities. They include a theater, gym, indoor pool, indoor children's play area, outdoor playground, pickleball courts, community garden, walking paths, and a roof deck. This is really an ideal location for this apartment building. With all these significant amenities, it's located near it's located with a lot of other non-residential uses, schools, houses of worship, that are all located in this King Street corridor. And I would submit that at 170 units on 16 acres is a much less dense development than you have seen in other affordable housing projects in town. This essentially equates to the zoning density in the R6 zone for housing units. This provides 51 units of assisted housing and 119 units of market rate apartments. And it's, as anyone who's gone out to rent an apartment knows, there is much more of a need for housing of all types, including market rate units. And this has been supported unanimously by the Affordable Housing Trust Board and the co-chair, Bill Finger, has made it clear that this is an ideal place for this project to be built. The big issue, obviously, that we've had to deal with is the sewer. That was the main issue that we had that prompted us to have a preliminary rather than a final review by the commission back in December of 23. The agreement that we have with Westchester County was signed in 1985 and has been extended twice, and it permits the discharge of 50,000 gallons a day on average into the Westchester sewer system. We've had 2 extensions. The current extension runs to December 31st, 2064. So at that point, the agreement will have been in effect for 79 years. On an annual basis, Greenwich Woods pays to Westchester County between $100,000 and $200,000, depending on the sewerage discharge on an annual basis. So it's not an insignificant payment that is made by the property to Westchester, and that would continue because the formula is based on flow. We have been in contact with the new county executive in Westchester and have had some positive discussions. He has reached out to their environmental facilities commissioner to get their input on it so that we could be able to move ahead with not with requiring any additional flow, because with reducing the number of units to 170, we are able to stay within that 50,000 gallons a day, including the assisted living facility, the Greens at Greenwich, which is next door, which has 28 beds. So our first option here, and the option that we believe we will be successful with, is to extend the current agreement so that it is past 40 years from when the building receives a certificate of occupancy, whether that's 2 years from now, 3 years from now, when it is actually constructed. Our second option is a dedicated wastewater facility for the project. This is what Sacred Heart has at its campus next door, and it discharges into the Byram River. The system was designed by S.E. Minor, reviewed by CDM Smith, which is not just on this project, that's our town's sewer consultants. They consult on many aspects of the sewer system that we have here in town. And they found that the alternate facility that S.E. Minor had proposed was reasonable. So in my letter to Pat earlier this month, I proposed that if we are unable to arrive at an agreement with Westchester County to extend this, which frankly I think is highly unlikely, but let's plan to bring the belt and suspenders approach here, that we record a document on the land records that requires that a final design and implementation of an alternate septic plan be started 10 years before the expiration of the term of the existing agreement that we have with Westchester. That way, we will have the ability to implement that, or not we, someone will have the ability to implement that 30 years from now. There was an outstanding comment we got from the fire marshal regarding adequacy of pressure and flow. The existing nursing home with 217 beds is fully sprinklered. It does have a fire pump to provide proper pressure to the sprinkler system. And if we were not able to provide pressure just with the water supply that's there now, we would include a fire pump in the new project, just as Greenwich Woods has at its facility. I did want to see what other issues the commission wants us to look at, but I think it's time, given the true value of this project to the town, that we move ahead with it and are allowed to proceed, even if we don't have an agreement at this time from Westchester County.
So, Mr. Hegney, before Nick's had his hand up for a while, so I'm gonna let him jump in just a second. You know how much we want to move forward on housing options and what a commitment we've made. Our only concern here is very much the health and safety. If we can, and that's consistent with state law, and we're not going to focus you guys and our questions on anything else. We are here for the health and safety. Those were the big concerns raised yesterday. So if we can find a path, our commitment is to advancing housing diversity and to serving the state's goal in that regard. So I hope that we can get there as we talk about it. I believe the commission shares that sentiment because it's in our POCD. And we all wrote it in a little conference room together with Katie. So I'm going to go to Nick, and he has some questions.
Actually, Mr. Hegney, I want to make sure that I understand this correctly. You want me to act on this application with an open issue of sewer, which is a safety issue, without a commitment from Westchester County, and a conceptual design for a sewer treatment plant with a very large force main. Am I correct in what you're saying or asking?
No, I'm saying that we currently have an agreement with Westchester that runs to December 31st, 2064.
But you do not have an
And-
agreement that will run the length of the building itself, the 40 years. You do not have that. Is that correct?
No, as I pointed out, this was signed 40 years ago.
Doesn't matter what
That
happened
we've
40 years
had-
ago. I'm talking
that
about today,
we
right
have
now.
it for another 39 years, that the nursing home and the apartment building would be paying a significant amount of money to Westchester that has an incentive to continue to have this sewer connection. But that if that doesn't happen, our first option is definitely to extend this agreement. If that doesn't happen, then we go to a backup plan, which is the treatment plant. Now, is it going to be the same design that SE Minor came up with now, 30 years from now? Probably not. There'll probably be some significant advances that will make it a much more efficient program than what SE Minor has designed. But that's what we have now, and that's what we submitted to you, and that's what CDM Smith looked at, and CDM Smith said, yeah, this looks reasonable, and this is what they do. So no, yes, I'm asking you to take all of this into account and to approve this, so this housing can go forward and we can be benefiting from it sooner rather than later.
Mr. McRae?
Yes, I think we just went in a big circle. My first question was not answered. So let's just move on to the next commission member. Thank you.
Mr. Wells?
I guess that's me. Really a question for Pat. On the modeling requirement, clearly this is greater than 10,000 square feet. Is this application exempt because we heard a version of it before June 2025 when we amended the energy narrative require modeling?
Well, Technically, Mr. Wells, this is an 830G application, so local zoning is not applicable here.
Okay. Why even have a meeting then?
Well, actually, because state law requires it and says we can have a public hearing. So there have been proposals that 830Gs go in as of right without any kind of hearing at all. But as the state law is written, as you know, we are to focus on health and safety issues only. And the burden of proof regarding those health and safety issues is with the commission. But there have been bills that would have 830Gs be without a hearing, exactly what you said. The basis for those bills was that the public opposes affordable housing and should not be given a right to render an opinion. And also, it has been argued that some towns make superficial concerns seem like health and safety. I don't think that is our case now. We are talking about sewer and fire specifically as health and safety, and that is our focus. Plus, I believe the applicant did agree to make the DPW changes, right? I missed some of the correspondence since yesterday, but so.
Okay, so I have a health and safety issue then,
Right.
if you're done with that.
Yes, sir.
And that is, so I have severe concerns about a backup plan that sends up to 50,000 gallons of treated wastewater into the Byram River. In terms of effect, we've already got a letter in from official at the Byram Neighborhood Association. Everyone knows Byram Beach is one of the worst beaches in the state in terms of water quality. And I'd like a list as a health and safety of all the projects that are sending wastewater into the Byram River. Where's the tipping point there? We've got Sacred Heart, American Lane, and now this project. I'm sure there are a bunch of other, I don't know where Brunswick sends its effluent, but this would be very useful information because at some point it's going to be too much. And I don't know what the number is, but we can't just say, oh, another 50,000, no problem. Another project comes, oh, another 50,000. We need to have this information. A related question is there's I guess a sludge collection unit. So where does the solid go? Is the solid proposed to go to the Greenwich waste treatment facility? Where does that go?
Mr. Hegney,
Just looking to see
do
if,
you have a treatment plan on site?
maybe our engineer from SE Minor can respond to that.
SE Minor, kindly raise your hand, your virtual hand, if you have one. Your real one won't have it. SE Minor?
Yeah, there's a 12,000 gallon sludge holding tank. So I assume, is that the solid waste?
SE Minor, there we go. All righty. So, Mr. Hegney, one of the things, I don't know if you had a chance to pursue SE Minor, if you would accept the promotion. Thank you. With Mr. Hegney, we received commentary from, in the public record, there's input, as Mr. Wells is referencing, to the contamination of the Byram River and the problems that it creates further downstream and how much could this be contributing. All right, the SE Minor person came in. Okay, they didn't get in. All right, let's try this again. This is rejoining, but they're not. There we go.
Of course, any kind of discharge like this would have to be approved by the state DEP. And if not, there would have to be a different solution. And frankly,
Hello?
Hello,
SE Minor. if you would kindly give us your first name and last name so that it can go into the public record. And then
Good
I'm
afternoon,
sorry,
all.
Mr.
I'm
Hegney,
Eric Avila, engineer with SE Minor.
can you give that to, and could you spell your last name, please?
That's Avila.
All right, Avila. Okay, Mr. Hegney, you were saying that DEEP would have to approve the on-site treatment plant and the associated disposal of the sludge.
Correct. That's all within their purview.
I just want to know
as
where the sludge
protecting
goes.
State resources.
I mean, is it using up a Greenwich facility? It's a pretty simple question. I think there's going to be a lot of sludge.
Well, it would get treated on site, and we just had proposed discharge solutions as Mr. Hegney proposed, which would be into the Byram, and it's conceptual as of now. That's why we have done it in a separate project, but it's just the discharge locations.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
As I understand it, wastewater goes in the Byram River. We all get that. We don't have to say what that is. But there's solid sewage that comes down. I don't believe all of it ends up in liquid form or will end up in the Byram River. So what happens to the solids? I want to know where that's going. And if it's all going to the Byram River, then that's the answer.
No. The solids would not get treated. The sludge would have to get picked up.
Okay, so where does it go?
I don't have an answer for where the sludge would get, but it would definitely not be discharged into the Byram River, and it would be picked up and disposed of adequately for a treatment system.
Okay, well, you've given us information where the wastewater goes. I would say the solid's just as important, and we need to know that, and that's a health and safety issue. And also, if it's supposed to be going to the Greenwich treatment plant, you might want to be chatting with them as to their capacity.
No, it wouldn't go to the treatment plant. It would all get treated on site, and you would have, bacteria and such breaking down as much as you can. And that would not be it would not be sent to the municipal treatment system.
Okay.
Now, Mr. Wells, we had a similar question on this when we were going through the Greenwich American development,
Right.
which has its own essentially sewer treatment plant. And that question did come up, and my recollection is that the solids from that facility with the 600,000 square foot office building was picked up, I think it was twice a year. I don't think it was all that frequently. And I don't recall where it was disposed of, but I think our own sewer plant has the same issue of dealing with solids and having to truck them away. None of that goes into the sound.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anything else from the commission? Okay. Does anybody from the public wish to speak on this application? Eagle View Holding at 1165 King Street, 170 units, 51 will be below market, priced as officially affordable under state law. Anybody from the public wish to comment on this application, please raise your virtual hand. Mr. LaRoe.
Madam Chair, I have a letter that I've been asked to read into the record.
Thank you.
This letter is from the Byram Neighborhood Association addressed to myself, Director of Planning and Zoning. Dear Patrick, I'm writing on behalf of the Byram Neighborhood Association to provide comments on the proposed redevelopment of 1165 King Street. The BNA is strongly opposed to any consideration of a future on-site wastewater treatment facility which would discharge into the Byram River in the event the property's existing treatment arrangement with Westchester County is not renewed at the end of the current term in 2064. Any such sewage discharge into the Byram River eventually flows down through the community of Byram and therefore is a potential health and safety concern for the residents of Byram. I grew up in Byram in the 1960s, and I have strong memories of not being able to swim along Byram Shore because of the improperly treated sewage making its way down the Byram River into Long Island Sound. No one in Byram wants to see that happen again. While in theory, any new sewage treatment plant would have to meet much higher regulatory standards in order to discharge into a public waterway, the reality is neither the town of Greenwich nor the state of Connecticut have the enforcement capacity to ensure such a private facility is operated properly for decades that it will likely operate. Without guaranteed enforcement capacity, the risk of or incompletely treated sewage being discharged into the Byram River falls on the residents of Byram. We are not willing to take that risk. We encourage the Planning and Zoning Commission to refrain from approving any development plan, which includes potential future discharge of wastewater into the Byram River. Since this proposed redevelopment is located outside of Byram, the Byram neighborhood does not have any comments on comments on or take any position regarding any other aspect of the proposed development. Sincerely, Al Shahadi, BNA Treasurer, Land Use Chair, and then also CC to the Commission.
Okay, so this is the contamination issues. So Mr. Hegney, coming back, we have this as a must close. And let me ask you if I'm correctly recapping what you've said. The fire department issues you believe you can successfully address. That's the road access, the full-on road access, as well as installing pumps to ensure enough water pressure. I believe there was also a question unspoken in Mr. Roth's commentary about supply, not only pressure. You are public water, but is there any supply limitation? I don't know if you have a will serve from Aquarian. So that would be the second thing, that if there was an issue from Aquarian and they weren't willing to give a will serve, that you would have to install an on-site cistern to address the supply, any water supply, and potentially your pressure issue. As regards the sewage issue, what I'm hearing you say, and this is a big question, is that if you gave us an extension, you would not provide us with additional information regarding the viability of this on-site sewer treatment plant.
I think we've provided that information, Madam Chair, and you've had your own consultant review it and reach a conclusion that it is a reasonable proposal. The other part is that although we've had very positive discussions with Westchester County on extending the existing sewer agreement, it does not appear that that is going to be resolved by November 12th, which is the last meeting we can extend to.
Okay.
If there is other information or other issues that the commission deems necessary for us to address, health and safety issues, then I would want time to do that. Otherwise, I think we've given you what we can give you.
Okay, and what you also said is that you would address the DPW issues regarding pedestrian and all the DPW issues. Next question for you.
Yes.
If you, I'm sorry, go ahead and answer for the record. Yes, you will. The safety issues.
Yeah,
that-
yes,
yeah,
and we have submitted those plans
All right.
for review by the town.
So the next question is, the only option, as I've been chewing on this, would be if we had some sort of milestone requirement built into a decision, if we were to move this forward, wherein if you failed to meet certain milestones, you would XX. And again, I'm just throwing that out, have not thought it through, but just the concept that at some point in the future, I don't know, Patrick, I'm kind of springing it on this on you, but what thoughts would you have?
Well, I think what you're suggesting is that there's some gating goals or triggers where there needs to be things met or progress made, and then if those are skipped or they run through those stop signs, then the building, we would revoke zoning and therefore CO of the building. Is that what you're suggesting?
But what would happen? So this is where I got stuck. What would happen? Yeah, that was kind of what I was thinking, but what if the building is built, they've gone ahead? So we would require these milestones prior to CO. Is
Oh,
what you're
but
thinking.
that's, sorry, I was thinking if we approach the end of the agreement is what I was
Yeah, so they've got the CO, they've got the building inhabited. And it's not like you can throw out your tenants or not.
Oh, but again, the property owner is going to be aware that the health and safety issue that the commission is articulating, I think, in this matter regarding wastewater treatment is a paramount issue, and they're going to need to address it. And if they don't, then there will be, it'll be illegal to operate, excuse me, occupy, not operate.
Okay, so let's go back to the first step is you've got a window of time prior to, say, for example, we were to move this forward. You have a window of time prior to the CO on the building right now before you go into business. Maybe we would want to do TCO. I don't know. You've got a window of time. You would have to make progress on your discussions, documented progress in your discussions with Westchester, for example. By then, Patrick, does that make sense? I'm kind of winging it. And if not, your CO would be held up until we had assurance. Then if occupied and Westchester goes south on you, there would be some other, and again, I have to research the legality of this, which the only thing with this, Mr. Hegney, is that, and again, Patrick is a better person to ask. Well, Patrick, you could research it and you could brief us always. So an application could be closed and you could tell us what
Yes.
it would be legal to say and not say in terms of conditions of milestones. Now, the applicant would not be able to comment, and they might prefer to hear those conditions, but we would know they were legal. So if you were closed, we would say, well, here's the milestones you have to meet, and you wouldn't be able to comment. But, we'd put it in a decision letter if we were to approve it, and that's where we would go. Or we could try to kick it around in the next 2 weeks, and Patrick, and we could talk to legal or whomever, and we could try to come up with something we could discuss with you, Mr. Hegney, and your client. Your choice.
Madam Chair, I think since we're down to this one issue, really.
Well, this is where we've been, not down to one issue.
yeah.
But we've been here for
Yeah.
a year on the one issue.
My
People got to do something with their
my
poopy
thought
water.
is that the commission does have an ability to converse with staff, and staff has the ability to
Okay.
research and develop proposed conditions for the staff, for the commission to consider. And I think that would be the appropriate approach to take. So we
And
close
you're-
it now, and then you would still have the ability to receive advice and counsel from staff.
Right. Now, and I'm just being fully transparent here before I let Patrick weigh in again. It is just as like, I don't know where the commission is. I know there are some significant concerns. There is also a chance that they would prefer to dialogue with you and your client about these conditions. And I'm asking you all, because otherwise they cannot be satisfied that health and safety has been addressed, and they would not be able to vote affirmatively. So I'm just asking you if you're comfortable with both of those doors. both of those, it could, how it is. I don't know how people are gonna vote.
Understood, Madam Chair. I'm not sure I have anything else that I can offer at this time. But if staff comes up with conditions that that the commission feels are acceptable, then at least we're able to move this forward. So I'm not in a position, nor do I feel any of our consultants are in a position to be able to give you anything else other than what we've provided.
Patrick,
Sorry, Madam Chair, if I could ask a clarifying question, are you suggesting that we put clauses in to entice the applicant, for lack of a better word, to get answers back to us before you make a decision? Is that what you were saying? Or were you
no,
saying,
because the applicant can't. What I was asking Mr. Hegney is, wouldn't it be grand, my perspective, if we had a list of conditions and we could discuss it with the applicant? And the applicant could say, I can live with this or I can't. But his answer was, no, I'm willing to take my chances. You make the conditions and we'll do what we do. If it wasn't such an important health and safety issue, I wouldn't ask the question, but I would much rather have a dialogue, always. Because affordable housing is about trying to dialogue forward. But if the applicant doesn't want to do that and wants to just say, okay, just close it and y'all are on your own, you do whatever, that's the applicant's choice.
yeah, I would only be uncomfortable with working on a draft that the commission can't communicate with the applicant and the applicant can't communicate with the commission on and us being the go-between. I think that
No, you can't tell the applicant at all.
Right.
That's what Mr. Hegney's agreeing to. We close this, whatever happens would be without any further dialogue with the applicant because the application is closed.
that's why I was asking
And
that.
I was asking Mr. Hegney if he really wanted to do that, because I would always rather work it out together so we can move forward. But if he and his client don't want to do that, and I assume that they've talked to each other about it, that's their choice. And they're equally taking but without having that dialogue, they're equally taking the chance that they may not get the go-ahead. I don't know where everybody stands, nor can I poll the commission.
Well, Madam Chair, I hope over the years I've expressed my willingness to have dialogue and to work with the commission. With the concern I have here is I don't think before the next meeting or before this application runs out of time to be decided or closed, I will have anything more to bring to you on that. Now, if there's some other thoughts that we could
I'm
have in
asking you
terms
if-
of the milestones that you mentioned,
That's what I'm
perhaps
asking you.
perhaps that is something that we could come up with as
There you go.
a way
That's
to
what-
assure the commission that
Bingo.
that
I would rather do
39
that.
years from now, this
Yeah.
won't be an unoccupied building.
I would rather have a dialogue with you guys, with the applicant and his, and the representation and the client. I would rather have a dialogue that says, here's the condition we're thinking of. What's your take on it? No, we hate it. Yes, we love it. For both of us to be able to say that and have that discussion. Patrick, I lost
So-
you. Oh, there you are.
So Mr. Granoff has raised
his
his
hand
hand
up.
and he is one member of the development team,
Yes. Yep. Okay.
not just
Mr.
the
Gr-
architect. So
Mr.
if we
Granoff,
could
go ahead.
ask him this very question.
Go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I can speak to the development team that we fully welcome an open dialogue over the next month to try to work up, come to a solution that makes everybody happy and moves this project forward.
Good.
It's a good project for the town. And
I mean-
the 51 affordable units for our policemen and firefighters and teachers and nurses is an incredible asset that I feel strongly that would be great for the town. So yes, we look forward to the collaboration in the
Perfect.
coming weeks.
Okay, so let's plan on that. So we'll try to come up with something with our side. Now, poor Patrick, in this case, he's gonna have to talk to the whole commission, but he knows how to talk to us one by one. And you all think about what would represent reasonable conditions that you could meet. In this regard, you have a read on where Westchester is, but I think just on how the process is. But again, I think what Patrick was suggesting was CO based. The other thing that y'all could do is, I think you haven't had the opportunity to talk to Mr. Roth yet. If you would just talk to Mr. Roth, hey, do you need a cistern? Do you have, I thought you had gotten a will serve from Aquarian way back when it was a bigger project, but maybe you didn't. Do you have the will serve? What's your capacity, what's your pressures? Can the sprinklers function? Get that little guy off, get that safety issue off the street. That leaves us with the health issue, and both sides will try to come up with a scenario that works.
Sounds like a great
At least
suggestion, Madam
that's what
Chair.
I'm volunteering. And again, I can't tell you where the commission's going to come out. Everybody's being quiet. They can't be polled. They can't indicate their vote. Trying to be very neutral here. Is there anything, commissioners, is there anything you would like to ask the applicant to do in this regard? No, Mr. Yeski, you're muted. No, your answer was no. Okay. All right.
The only thing I can think of is, when do they think Westchester is going to make a definitive decision?
Mr. Hagney, you got any idea?
We can ask the people in authority in Westchester when they expect to hear back from their environmental facilities department, and that we can probably get an answer as to when.
Perfect.
Even if we can't say what we have.
So you've never asked them that question?
They said that they would be speaking with the commissioner of the environmental facilities with sewer department in Westchester, and would be getting back to us. But we don't have. We asked when, but we don't have an answer to that question of when.
Okay, so let's try to do that. We'll work on conditions. We'll try to get to something where we can do. I'm not sure we can get to a Vulcan, but we'll try to do some sort of consensus. Okay, so Mr. LaRoe,
that would
what
require
kind of
me to forward to you an
extension.
extension letter.
Mr. LaRoe, what kind of extension would we be hoping to get in order to get council to weigh in a little bit on, and you to talk, figure out, I'm not sure how to create these milestones. What kind of an extension would we need? That's a max is to 11/2, I think. Hold on.
Right, which
11/13.
okay, so that would mean we'd have the two meetings in
In October and one meeting in November.
I mean, I think it's possible to put a good faith effort in and get something back by the I think it's the 15th.
Yes.
Okay. All right, let's give that a shot. So we would be continuing this application subject to the receipt of the extension granting from Mr. Hagney. And then Mr. Hagney, as soon as you and your clients can give some input to Patrick, because at this point your input can be shared with the commission.
Yes.
And then also the result of your conversations with Mr. Roth and with Aquarian.
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
we can provide all that by the time of the next meeting.
The 15th.
Yes.
Yep, okey doke, just confirming, and that is the 15th, because the 13th the 13th is the holiday, right?
Uh,
Okay,
11th, no, sorry, wrong month. Apologies, wrong month.
that's okay. I think I was
Yeah,
looking at it.
the-
Okay,
This is, yeah, the
okay, all right.
holiday that Monday. Yep.
So you owe us a lot. You got a lot of homework to do for this commission between now and then. Every
you know,
application, we're asking you for homework.
That's all right. If it moves the projects along, I'm happy to comply.
Think informed, consistent, fair decisions.
Mhm.
All right. Okay, you guys, so thank you. I'm seeing that Mr. Granoff has stopped moving.
Thank you.
Live long and prosper.
Right back at you.
All right.
Okay, bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you.
All right, okay. Folks, you aren't gonna believe this. We're going to our last application. Wait, oh, there you are. And Mr. Lowe is back, if you're willing to cede to him, Ms. Jones. So we're gonna seat Mr. Lowe, put Jones was already seated for Lowe, actually, on this one. So, Mr. Lowe, are you demanding to be reseated, or will you let Ms. Jones remain?
We're talking about the
Presby,
Presbyterian. Now,
Living Hope.
just remind me, I think she was on it originally. Is that what you're saying?
She's on it, and you're here, but she was already on it anyway, so.
I know. I was here yesterday too. And no, she should continue if she's up
There
to
you
it.
go. You're stuck with the whole meeting.
No. If Ms. Jones has any hesitancy about it, I'm happy to step in, but
I'm fine to stay, or if Mr. Lowe would really like it back, that's also fine.
no, I'm not one of those clawbackers. Thank
Okay.
you.
Madam Chair,
Mhm.
I missed the briefing discussion on this application. I did reach out to
Patrick?
staff, wasn't able to connect, so I'm happy to
No, that's
defer
fine.
to Mrs. Jones. You sure?
Yeah,
Okay.
you're not, it's just whether or not you're seated, but the briefing, you'll hear some of the issues we raised. And
Okay.
it's fine if you weren't, it's fine if you weren't at the briefing.
Okay.
I'm sure Mr. Tessie will be helpful in reminding.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Basili, you know what your job is. All righty. Our next application is number 10, Presbyterian Church of Old Greenwich, DBA Living Hope Community Church. This is for a final coastal site plan and special permit to consolidate lots at 30 West End Avenue and 38 West Avenue, expand the parking lot, construct 2 dwellings, one being a manse single-family house for the pastor, and the other being a 3-car garage with a 2-bedroom apartment above it for the associate pastor. The total volume of all the structures on the consolidated property will exceed 150,000 cubic feet. And they're also doing ADA improvements, and they have added to this application the permit for the having a farmer's market, which I understand has existed for quite some years. However, they had not previously sought a permit. So with that, we will proceed, Mr. Tessie, whenever you're ready.
Oh, I am ready. Thank you. Well, good evening again. I am representing the Presbyterian Church of Old Greenwich. This evening, in attendance also should be Mr. DeAndrea. And you may want to promote him now because a lot of your questions from yesterday were within his domain. And Mr. Pecora is also present. I don't think he has any formal speech to give, but may be able to add some insights.
Okay. All righty.
Since your last hearing on this application, which was your first hearing on a primary basis, we did work with the engineering department, specifically Mr. Paredes, regarding his comments, which were essentially down to his review of the drainage relating to the proposed expansion of the parking lot to the south of the church, and also his comment concerning the expansion or extension of a sidewalk in front of the church property running west, I'm sorry, from South End Court to the end of the property. With respect to the former, we had a meeting with Mr. Paredes as late as yesterday, because there was a fair amount of back and forth on the engineering. And the result of the meeting, which is a cooperative effort between him and Mr. DeAndrea and his team, they were able to come to an agreement of how the stormwater would be addressed on the property, literally throughout, because not only the parking lot, but also given the flow off the existing pavement on the west, on the east side of the property, it dictated to make sure that that was properly directed and treated. This is all about a treatment situation, not a detention situation, given the proximity to the waters to the west. Mr. Paredes wrote an email fairly late today, but not that late, to Mr. LaRoe. I'm not sure, Pat, if you shared that with the commission members, but basically indicated he did not have the time to write a formal memo to the commission, but wanted to note to the commission that the revised plan concept was acceptable to him, to the extent, at the very least, warranting his review overall to be completed prior to zoning permit and building permit. Mr. DeAndrea would be happy to get you all involved into the details, because I know you spent a fair amount of time yesterday on the subject of that parking lot, the drainage, the storm event, flooding of the area, etc. The other issue that was discussed was his meaning Mr. Paredes' recommendation that the sidewalk where, well, let me say that the sidewalk, that the applicant construct a town specified or specific to town specification sidewalk from the intersection, as I said earlier, with South End Court in West End Court, west to the entrance driveway of the property on West End Court. He didn't strike me or any of us as he was so passionate about it. His point was he believed he had a duty to recommend that to the commission, and cited the Selectmen's Committee report, which was appended to his last memo to the commission. That memo to the commission that he sent, as I said, contained actually the attachment of the Selectmen Committee's recommendations concerning sidewalks on West End Court. And we pointed out to him that the committee was not recommending a new sidewalk on the south side of West End Court. It specifically recommends that the north side sidewalk be reconstructed improved and reconstructed with new curbing, running down to the intersection with Riverside Avenue. Again, nothing mentioned, and I sent a memo to Mr. Leroux earlier today, citing the specifics of the recommendation of the committee and noting to him that Mr. Paredes, who certainly respect, felt he should be compelled to do it, really is not being consistent with that recommendation. And the recommendation make a heck of a lot more sense than what's being proposed, because that recommendation is still going to remain in the recommendation of the committee. The installation of a new sidewalk on the south side of the property to the driveway is a sidewalk to nowhere, because there's no sidewalk beyond the driveway down to Riverside Avenue. So if the goal was to improve that walkway, which makes sense from the park, Binney Park, that doesn't do it at all. So we think that's an overburdening of the applicant, literally inconsistent with the regulations, inconsistent with because the regulations don't require a sidewalk in a residential zone, inconsistent with the recommendation of the Selectmen's Sidewalk Committee, and I think as I expressed at Patrick, an overstepping of bounds. There's no compelling reason to put in that sidewalk which is a burden to the church, when the town has a usable sidewalk and one that should be improved by the town on the north side. So I won't beat it to death. I just wanted to give you a full report on the engineering aspects of our engineering aspects of our application that needed to be aired out, both with the town engineer and the commission. Now, Mr. DeAndrea can also take you through literally the property and show the improvements that are made.
Before we go to that.
Conditions. No, that's fine. I'm just saying he could get into more of the engineering aspects and the other aspects that improve existing conditions over and above the mere installation of more parking spaces.
Before we go to that.
Yes, sure.
Mr. Leroux, did you have any comments on this thing with the sidewalk?
I mean, Mr. Tessie did say the correct things. It is on the sidewalk master plan of DPW. I was not aware that the First Selectmen's Committee did not recommend this location, but it is not.
Have you been able to document that?
I'm looking right now, actually. I
Okay.
don't know, Mr. Tessie, where you got that information from, but
I attached, Juan attached the excerpt from the committee to his I think it was September 15th, whatever it was, memo. He actually had it. And I thought I sent that to you also as an attachment, but if you look at that, also, I believe, were you copied by Joe? I don't remember, but it's actually in your packet. If you look at the engineering, I think it's on page 45, something like that.
Well, one of the things that surprised me in addition was that we can't request sidewalks in residential zones. Well, this isn't a residential use in a residential zone. So under the special permit, we would be able to request something that enhances the ability of this use to fit in the residential zone. So I wasn't following that.
Well,
I was kind of
can-
looking at Patrick. I know you couldn't tell.
Well,
that 'cause-
I didn't say you can't recommend it. I said it's not a requirement, first of all. Secondly, I agree under your special permit powers, if in fact there is you perceive a safety issue,
Got it.
okay, then
just wanted to
I
put that
think
on
it
the
fits
table.
within ambit of your power. We don't see a safety issue.
Right.
In
and
fact, we see it creating a safety issue because people would have, at the end, would
Right,
have
right.
to cross in mid-street instead of the crosswalk
Gotcha. Okay, so we would have to follow up on that. Mr. DeAndrea, you have your hand up and then I'm waiting, and then Patrick, whenever you're ready, because I know you're trying to find stuff. You're muted, Mr. DeAndrea.
Tony, you're moving.
Yeah. Good
Yeah, he
evening.
figures it out.
Right.
Most of the time. Every now and then he has a bad night.
No, I always have a good night when I get to speak to the commission. So I would like to just summarize what we had discussed with Mr. Paredes yesterday. It's not just yesterday. We've been having discussions frequently just to refine the design to satisfy all aspects of his concerns and as well as ours. So the end result is that we agreed and offered, actually suggested that we install a curb along the south side of the parking lot for a good section of it, including the new expanded parking section. And what the curb will do is direct surface water that was, until this current design, will direct surface runoff to the permeable pavement that we are installing under the new extended parking area. Previously, up till today, there has been no treatment of the runoff from the parking lot that currently serves the church. So that's a significant improvement. The addition of the curb also eliminates the potential for ponding between the parking lot and the elevated property of the neighbor to the south. We have proposed to install a small yard drain that would eliminate any water that would collect in that trough, if you will, that runs parallel to the proposed parking. And that water will be directed to a level spreader with direction toward the tidal inlet. So in essence, we've collected all the water, treated it in the reservoir, allowed it to be under drained, and then discharged onto the surface so that it will travel a greater distance overland before it gets to the channel, the tidal inlet. Effectively, we've got belts and suspenders on the treatment, and we've eliminated any potential for ponding adjacent to the neighbor to the south. In addition, we are regrading the area between the parking lot extension and the neighbor to the south by elevating slightly to create a low area that we can collect the water in and have a dual purpose of providing a little more vertical separation above the potential salt water so that we could plant trees that would be appropriate in that area. If I can touch on the chart that was submitted relative to the sidewalks, this was the Selectmen's Pedestrian Safety Committee inventory, Old Greenwich School District to Binney Park. They had certain
What's the date
categories.
on that?
That I'm going to get to that, and thank you for asking. It's December 5th of 2006. I don't know the date of when the sidewalk was installed along the north side of West End Avenue, but it exists. Back in 2006, the Selectmen's Committee suggested that because there's traffic and because it's sometimes high speed, they did suggest that there be some in-street signage to direct people to the crosswalk. They also suggested that there should be a bicycle pedestrian stripe, if you will, along the edge of the road. But most importantly, under the category sidewalk, they suggest that reconstruct existing north side. So there was never any indication or suggestion that there needed to be a sidewalk on the south. My observations of the conditions are that there is not a path worn along the shoulder, the south shoulder of South End Court, there is not a path worn along the south shoulder of West End Avenue, beating a path, if you will, to the entrance of the church. There is a well-marked crosswalk at the east intersection of South End Court and West End Avenue, directing people to the north side, logically following along. And that's the chart. Thank you for putting that up, Patrick. So you can see clearly that is under the vertical column, which says sidewalk, reconstruct existing north side. So that's what the Selectmen's Committee noticed and wanted in 2006. we are strong in the opinion that it's not necessary to expend more money and install a sidewalk to nowhere. And I think that's a summation of our discussion with Mr. Paredes yesterday.
Mr. DeAndrea or Mr. Tessie, the triple X in the grid here, do you know what that represents?
My interpretation of that was that there was nothing more to say. They up above, they point out that West End Avenue of Palmer Island, vicinity of the church, they want some in-street signage, and I think they say that has to be done at the crosswalk, and in addition, signage. So OG 15 suggests that they have crosswalk and signage. Okay, and they're just looking to have more signage at the crosswalk. I don't know if what's been done is considered sufficient, but that's what it was. And then when you move down to OG 16, where they talk about reconstructing on the north side, they mention that there is a crosswalk, there is a pedestrian crossing, and there is a stripe. They want it on the side, and that was intended for the bicycle route. So anyway, I think that the recommendations back in 2006 appear to have been completed, and perhaps it has been improved, but it is the condition that's there now. And if it does need improvement, then again, I think that's a town responsibility rather than something for the church.
Okay. Patrick, it would be useful for us to have the opportunity to dig a little bit onto what has evolved since 2006, what the triple things mean, etc. But that's a side note. Okay. What else?
If I may, Madam Chair, just one closing statement. My summary of what we resolved yesterday with the DPW Engineering Division relative to drainage is that it's done. We presented a plan. Mr. Paredes was involved in the sketching, if you will, on our offers of how to solve the problem. What we did was we added an under drain to make the filtration more efficient as as the water runs off down through the permeable pavement and then the reservoir below. The addition of the curb is a benefit to the neighbor to the south by directing the water to the permeable pavement, giving it more treatment than it never had. So we've made great strides, if you will, in resolving any concern about treatment, storage, and protection of the neighbor.
All right, Mr. McRae.
Mr. DeAndrea, last I heard, so for drainage, it was a resubmittal prior to zoning permit.
Yes,
But the sidewalk issue was still open-ended. In his comments, he was looking for additional information about sidewalks, which is kind of debatable, but he was looking about granite curb along the northern frontage of the property. Is that still something that's in play, or was that something you discussed with him?
The only reason for the granite curb along the north boundary, if you will, or the south side of West End Avenue would be to support the sidewalk.
Okay.
We don't want the sidewalk. We don't need the sidewalk. And at this time, the sidewalk is not part of our plan.
Mhm.
As a result, no curb is being proposed there. I think there's an analogy to the program that the town has undertaken for many years in safe routes to schools and installation of curbing and sidewalk where appropriate. So you'll notice a deficiency or a lack of sidewalk along Summit Road in some parts of Henry as a indication. So there was no intent to be placing curbing, granite curb and sidewalk in this vicinity. And obviously we have Old Greenwich School just a short distance away. So the pedestrian traffic is directed along the south side of West End Avenue from the intersection of South End Court east to Sound Beach Avenue. Those pedestrians then, when they are walking west toward Binney Park, cross at a established crosswalk and then proceed along the north side of West End Avenue to the tunnel and ultimately the park.
Mhm.
We've provided, or the town has provided adequately and appropriately, in our opinion, for pedestrian traffic in a safe route from the school to the park. And I would imagine that's an important route for after-school activity.
And there is no actual sidewalk that goes from the street to the church.
There's no sidewalk that runs from South End Court to the church driveway. We have agreed, and appropriately, to reconstruct the entrance ramp to the church.
Mhm.
It is in need of repair, so that's part of
Yeah.
the current plan.
Okay. So then the conflict, I think there's something just resolved with Mr. Paredes that we're good with drainage, but he's still holding the sidewalks, but the sidewalks as recommended by Selectmen's Committee has actually been completed and is well in use.
I would concur with that. Yes, sir.
Okay. Just a quick question. Well, there's no sidewalks, so forget that. Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. DeAndrea.
Thank you.
Okay, so I wanted to talk about the parking expansion.
Yes, I'm happy
I
to.
think we've had some misunderstanding about what 6158 says and how the commission has historically applied it. 6158 says 1 parking space per 3 seats. Okay, if a child comes with their parents and goes to Sunday school, they don't need an extra parking space because they usually don't drive. So counting the people who go to Sunday school would not be appropriate and is also inconsistent with what the regulation says. For your reference, Mr. Tessie, I give you the application your firm handled at St. Tim's. Mr. Bristol did give us the seat count there, and we did the parking based on that. I can also give you the examples of the Reform Synagogue on Orchard and the proposal on Mason Street. The conversion of Chabad later to the Lutheran church was a non-conforming, so that would not apply. But the commission has consistently looked at seats. The exception at Chabad on Mason Street was that during the week, Chabad had the educational uses that exceeded what the worship demand was, and they didn't have enough parking to meet that. This is not the situation there. That's the first thing. So at this point, I'm not seeing that you don't meet the regulations. As my count right now is you're short only 2 spaces versus the regulations, and that would be all the commission would be required to approve in order to eliminate the nonconformity. Given our desire to have lower impervious, that might be attractive. The second thing is on the farmer's market, number of people attending and what's happening and what the history is. I have heard on the street that it's been 10 years. Not sure what it's doing to traffic and the neighborhood and to just, it's now slid into this, but I don't know. I didn't get a grasp on it. I don't know if somebody else on the commission could clarify, or if you guys want to now. There's a part of me that says, hey, this must have been going pretty smoothly because look, it's been going on for a really long time and nobody picked up on it. So, and no objection to farmers markets, except that's not the use that was approved in a residential zone for this facility. Those are the 2 things I've got right now.
Yeah.
I
Just
want to
for
bring you
the-
back to conformity with the regulations on the parking because of the neighborhood concern and the flooding and all that. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Insofar as the parking's concerned,
Could we throw up that page 4 thing?
the parking issue is a simple issue. And it's kind of interesting. Most applicants are coming and are arguing they don't need all the parking.
No, sometimes it goes the other
But-
way. I get
but-
it.
But let me, the end of the day, the end of the day, it's about what is the parking needs exist for this use?
No, sir, it's not what the regulation says.
Excuse me, if you let me finish,
Okay.
it's exactly what the regulations say.
It-
What the regulations state that is that the parking calculations are quote guidelines, and the commission reserves the right,
Yes, correct.
specifically stated, to adjust
Yes.
basically, as I said, at the end of the day, what does this site really need so as not to be a burden on the
Can you
neighborhood
zoom some more,
residential
Patrick? I still
streets?
can't see it.
Okay, that's what it says. We have insofar as your example, that you gave for your position of not counting the simultaneous uses going on. It's a situation where it's not one parking space per person. If a family comes, it's one. The anticipation is that you're going to have 3 people in every car that comes in. It's 1 per 3.
Mhm.
Okay, those are the numbers. So if a family comes in and it's 1 or 2 children going to Sunday school, and one in a husband and a wife, okay, that takes up those 3 seats right there.
Okay, Mr.
Okay,
Hegney, Mr. Les Tessie, I just called you, Mr. Tessie, let's just go over this slowly,
So
okay? No,
I am
wait,
gonna go-
no,
I-
I'm
I-
gonna
I- I
interrupt
am-
you. I'm gonna interrupt you.
Go
The
ahead.
pastor and the associate pastor under your scenario are gonna live on site and have their own parking. So let's throw that out. Next, the ushers sit down during the service. So they are in your seating capacity. Next, your children that are going to Sunday school, the 20 that are going to Sunday school during the service, they did not drive there. They did not drive. When you say the maximum number of persons attending the services, you're double counting those kids.
No,
They
I'm
did-
not. I'm sorry, but I now have to interrupt you. No, I'm not. Okay, you interrupted me. This is the
Okay,
point. I didn't
you
make
get
my
the
point.
one. You get the one. Go ahead.
Okay, the point I'm trying to make to you is that whether those children are in the
If we don't
in the
have, if we don't
sanctuary
have the parking.
or
they
the
get
chap
overflow.
or the
They
Mr.
go out to the
DeAndrea,
street.
mute. Mr. DeAndrea, you need to
sorry.
mute because Mr. Tessie doesn't want us to interrupt him right now. Go ahead.
No, serious.
Yeah, I'm serious.
You
Go.
no, thank you. Okay, so whether those children are sitting in the sanctuary or in the overflow chapel, or whether they're attending class simultaneously, they're part of the count. Because the parking numbers adjust for that. They don't say 1 for 1, they say 1 for 3. So you're anticipating that those children are going to be in the car. It's not going to be, it's very unusual that you'll find people who are attending service to carpool. It's usually the family.
Okay,
And that was the anticipation, but just let me make a couple of points.
Well, no, but let me just answer
But
that
putting
one
that
point.
aside,
One point.
go, okay, you get one.
Mom, dad, and the kid go into the church and sit down in 3 seats. How many parking spaces did mom and dad and the kid in theory use? According to our regulations, that
1.
would be 3. No, that would
No,
be the
1.
1 space for the 3 seats.
Agree 100%.
Now the kid gets up and goes to Nurse Sunday school. You are adding him into the parking demand.
That assumes that the kid was going one. I didn't think he was such a religious kid that he was going to a service and all at the
Says
same time running
during
back and
the
forth.
service.
But
He
let's
is
go
during the service.
Let's
So-
get practical here. Let's get practical. Let's take a step back. Okay. The parking lot is not a cheap endeavor to construct. It was determined, and actually it was mentioned, I believe, by Reverend Pankow at their last meeting, that what they're finding is that the church is growing. It's growing. That's great. And their parking needs have increased. Now, despite what some community members said, I've walked by there a number of times because I live relatively close by. And when there's service there are congregants who are parking on the street. The parking is inadequate. It's not 2 parking spaces, and they're anticipating growing. Okay, which they have a right, which is just the reality, and they have a right to do. So the question is, do you want to err in this in terms of safety and protection of the neighbor and eliminate street parking? Because all I've ever heard about commercial and institutional parking, and rightfully so, is it shouldn't be burdening the residential streets around us. And the church is taking the long view that they need this parking to be able to be more respectful to the neighborhood. It's kind of ironic, but that is the absolute truth here. They're more in compliance by providing parking spaces on this site to alleviate the existing condition in worse conditions possibly of parking on the residential streets. So instead of, in my view, I think we're under obviously the numbers when it comes to floor area. We're low. We're obviously complying with green area. We're improving the existing conditions for drainage and cleaning of water on the site. Yet we seem to be having a battle over putting this needed parking area in that I just really don't understand. It's the prudent, respectful thing to do, and it's costing the church money to do it. If you don't want to do it, that's your choice, but I don't think I don't think that's being foresightful.
So let me just
ahead.
back it into a different direction.
Okay.
One of the concerns I have here is that you have not documented for us whether this farmer's market is a for-profit business that is being run by the church, whether the farmers are paying rent to the church for the use of their tents on the church property. Well, that's not legal. Okay, that is not consistent with the special permit for the church use that you run a for-profit business on the site. And I'm really uncomfortable at the moment that the for-profit business that is being run in your parking lot, which is, how does that relate to you wanting to expand the parking lot? So I'm uncomfortable.
Okay, that's a simple one. And I was going to get to that second because that was your second point. Very simple. There's nothing you said with respect to the farmer's market that I don't agree with, I'm not saying it. I agree with you on that. We have a debate on the parking for the reasons we both articulated. On the farmer's market, there just was no knowledge that they needed that. They used it as a community benefit. No rent is paid, but those farmers are marketing, right? They're marketing their product and they're selling.
Do they pay rent?
No.
Could you document that? I thought
Mr. Pecora actually stated that the last meeting, but certainly
no proof. We have no documentation.
That's fine. That you're absolutely right. Because what we did at the last meeting and what we put in, actually, if you look at it, we do have documentation. We submitted the various uses on the site, and and the one that was cited for paying rent was the music school. And we've indicated that we understand that. It was noted that that's not
I saw that.
proper. And they're running out their term at the end of October, and that's the end of that.
Okay.
Madam Chair, if I may?
Of course, Mr. McRae.
Mr. Tessie,
sure.
How many seats are in the sanctuary? Not people, physical seats.
Physical seats are called out on the chart.
It's 180,
180 or
85
180
plus,
yes.
and then Nick, there's overflow into the chapel. If I'm remembering
I'm trying to get to the chart again.
I think it's 68 in the chapel. Is that right? There we go.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
The chapel is 25, 185.
Hold on a second. Wait.
Go ahead.
maximum persons attending services. This
There
is
you go.
people. I'm not asking that question. I want to know how many physical seats
There you go.
are in the sanctuary. How many physical seats are in the chapel? That's what I'm asking. Not how many people are coming out, attendance. I'm not worried about attendance, enrollment, yada, yada, yada. Physical seats.
25 and 185, plus the
20.
pastor seat, the band.
No,
in here, but
not pastor.
okay, it's
not the
fine. But
band,
no,
no,
Mr.
the
Macri, those
seats,
numbers are
okay?
all there.
There
You
it is.
Choose whatever
So
you want.
25 and 185. That's
Yes.
the numbers that we're looking at. Nothing else.
That's up to you.
No, it does we go by seats, right? You need a parking space per seat, correct?
Those are the guidelines, subject to adjustment by the commission if they believe that they should be.
It is. I mean, the section 6158 says, and he's right, as you would expect, that it is subject, it says the following are standards for determining parking requirements. These standards may be modified as determined by the Planning and Zoning Commission. So the question is, when we look at this, and I got stuck, Nick, as you might have guessed, I got stuck on the children who ride with their parents, go to church, sit in the sanctuary, and then, like all of us did when we were little, you peel off and go to another room for your Sunday school so you don't make everybody crazy. But those people came in the car, those little people came in the car with somebody else because they don't drive. So they don't need a parking spot. And when that was used, that's the one that really hit me. When that was used as justification for the expansion, that and the pastors, because they're going to be living on site. Also that the ushers, go back and sit down. So I felt like this is a somewhat generous calculation. And so that's why I was pushing back on it. Nick, anything else?
Yes. Okay. So we received other organizations that use the church.
Mm-hmm.
So we're looking at the farmers market. Okay. We're debatable about that. I think I'd like to know is the Alcoholic Anonymous and Debtors Anonymous, is that outreach to the church or not? You don't have to answer this question right now. I need to have this particular information. Music Together is a nonprofit organization. You're conducting classes. So we can actually say that's not really outreach because you're having classes, right? It's for profit.
Yeah, we've already said we're eliminating.
Okay. Community Bible study, I would assume, is outreach. We just need to verify that.
Mm-hmm.
Boy Scouts, nonprofit, is that outreach? Clearly, Korean Church will be outreach. Sunday service, I would assume that whatever fee that they pay is for the maintenance of the building. Garden Club, parents of Brunswick School, Town of Greenwich Public Works, and Waste Free Greenwich. Those really need to be looked at hard. It would seem to me actually that the Garden Club, yeah, it's really nice to be, but is that truly part and parcel to the church itself? Brunswick, you have people coming to park their cars, wait for the kids, get them on the bus, and then leave. There seems to be conflict there. 20 to 25 minutes, been going on for 20 years. Oops. Okay, public works employees are parking in the parking lot because they can't park across the street in the site lot. That's a little iffy for me. And waste free now gets back to Waste Free Greenwich food scraps during the farmers market. So that kind of gets right back up to number one. So I think really we need to take a look at this in a really hard situation as to which one of these is outreach or not, and resolve the or not. Okay. And I think one thing I would additionally like to have, which I can't find in all of the information, the copious amounts of things, is the actual floor plan of the church with a seat count.
Yeah, and I don't want to punish you. I mean, really, seriously, it's not to, the church needs more parking. We need the better narrative than what you've given us here. How about if I put it that way? This narrative failed to convince, and I think I put it more strongly 2 minutes ago, but leave it there. Failed to convince that this documented need. So if the church needs more parking, there needs to be a better argument for why it's necessary in an area where, what is necessary? Yes, we don't want people parking in the street, but we also don't want more impervious than is absolutely necessary. So we're striking the balance. When you're talking downtown Greenwich, Mr. Tessie, it's already impervious. Here, you're going over unpaved areas. So we would like to reduce the impervious. So give us a better argument when you come back with this, and let's go on to some other topics because we got lots to cover, I think. Go
Okay,
ahead.
it is a pervious surface.
Right.
It's not impervious. It's a
Okay.
pervious surface.
Yeah.
We will
Okay.
get, we'll
Yeah.
enhance
Make a
our.
better argument. The way
I-
you laid it out was not, just lay it out in a way that's convincing and that makes a good argument. That's all I'm asking.
I
It's just that
understand.
I got crotchety with the kids who were in Sunday school.
No,
Mr.
okay,
Leroux.
just let,
Okay.
I want to just respond. I would like to respond to that,
Okay.
into what Mr. Macri said. I think he gave a fair analysis.
It's the same one I did, but that's okay.
Okay, well, I'm just going to say,
I did a better job of it.
backing you up,
Yeah, I know. Or
backing
maybe
you up. Okay. I think that the commission, anytime it's a nonprofit use, I would make this comment. The commission does have the power because it's a nonprofit use, as opposed to a religious use. And that's one of the reasons it came to pass that we had to bring up, because the client clearly did not know. And there've been no neighborhood opposition to it, which is also important because it's all about how you're acting toward your neighbors. But these are legitimate questions that are asked in terms of striking a balance. The bottom line is always, how are you affecting the neighbors, the neighborhood properties? How are you affecting their values? How are they affecting their life? In actuality, during our first hearing, Reverend pointed out that very much Reverend Peckout was very much, and the whole team there, trying to be community spirited. And that's been their part and parcel of what they consider themselves to be, as they stated, not just a church, but a community area, embracing what needed to be embraced for the betterment of the community. On the parking end, again, as I stated earlier, myself, this is a prudent thing to do. You can state, well, we just think it's a possibility that if you do that, they're going to expand the farmers market. That's controllable. In fact, you have the power to say it can't be there because you have to
Mr.
make that
Tessie,
decision.
that isn't what we asked you.
No, I'm
And
saying you may be
Mr.
thinking, I'm not saying you
McRae
are. But I'm trying to,
repeated,
I'm
as
trying
you
to-
so nicely put it, Mr. McRae backed me up. We are
Yes.
asking you to provide a
We-
better table explaining the parking needs.
And what I'm trying to say to you is I understand that, but
Good,
it's
let's
not
move
all
on.
about, but it's not about the table. It's about, and actually you do get into attendance issues. You get into, okay, what are your prospects? What are you seeing on your property currently? What are you foreseeing, so that we're not in a position that you are going to be making yourself a burden upon the community? And we will get into that, but it's a narrative. It's not a chart. It's a narrative. You asked for an expanded narrative, and I agree with you. We'll put in writing what we've been saying. The church will back it up. Why did we determine that part and parcel of this application, which primarily was for the buildings, to expand the parking? We didn't do it to be in technical conformity with the regulations. We did it because the church believed that was the right thing to do for the community in terms of a burden, and the right things to do for its constituency, or another way, constituency here is congregants. Not having enough parking on site, actually, when it's needed, and this is more or less a destination location, means that you're adversely affecting, when I say you, I don't mean you individually, but it's adversely affecting the ability of the congregants to attend services because of the lack of parking. creating so that goes to RLUIPA. It really does too. But let us give you an expanded narrative on that point.
No,
Now,
actually,
the final-
if I could just be very clear, Mr.
Yes.
Tessie, it does not go to RLUIPA. RLUIPA only says that we cannot require of the church something that we don't require of anybody else. And we're not doing that. We are
No,
applying our
okay.
existing regulations regarding parking evenly to everybody, which is why I cited all the other religious worship facilities that
Oh.
have come before us. That is not a situation for RLUIPA because it is the standard, and the burden on RLUIPA is whether we are being fair and equitable to the houses of worship. And
In
to
actual,
the-
okay, in actuality, you stated that previously. I
yes, sir.
accepted what you state. However, what's clear under the law is that when we make our application and we say we need, as a church, this is what we need, you have to do it's actually your burden to state, no, there are more compelling governmental interests. That's what the law says, that that even if applied as mildly as we can, I'm paraphrasing, but that's what the law says, that warrant you not getting X, Y, or Z of what you're asking for.
Mr.
And what we're
Hegney,
saying, what
I
I'm
keep
saying
calling
is
him
that
Hegney, which-
added, I'm sorry, let me just finish.
Yes.
Saying is that adding additional parking, which enhances the church use by its congregants, okay, is something that is important for the sustainability of the church. Denying parking because those
No,
numbers
Mr.
are minimum.
Tessie.
Wait a minute. Those
No,
numbers are
I'm done.
minimum
I'm
numbers
sorry,
of
Mr.
parking.
Tessie. I'm done. I'm
I'm-
done listening to this. I'm
No, I'm
telling
just
you right
stating-
now, it does not fall under RLUIPA because under RLUIPA, what we have to do is treat the house of worship with the same fairness and equity that we do any other applicant. That it does not say that we should give you special treatment in order to accommodate you. That is not what the law says. It says the opposite of that. There has to be parity. It has to be parity, Mr. Tessie, not that we
Okay.
give you special treatment. You are just made a case that we should give you special treatment different from our regulations so that you can worship. I am not going there. It is not acceptable under the law. Mr. McRae, you have your hand up.
Yes,
And
I
let's
do.
Please
Madam
move
Chair, if I
on
can
from this
move on.
parking lot issue because we are
Yes.
done with it.
I think we've discussed what we need to have, and what we're looking for. Mr. DeAndrea, or maybe the pastor, the bell in the yard, where is that going to be moved to?
Mr. McRae, I think Mr. DeAndrea changed devices, so hold on one second.
Okay.
I don't have an answer to the relocation of the bell. That would have to be from the pastor, Mr. Mack.
Okay.
All
Very
right, well,
good.
the
Thank you.
pastor's got his hand up, so
Oops.
that's Mr. Pencal, right? Oh, Mr. Pecora, I now see you also have your hand up. My apologies. Okay, Mr. Pencal will answer you, Mr. McRae.
Hello.
Hello. Okay, so if Mr. McRae was just asking a question about the relocation of the bell.
We don't have any plans to relocate the bell at this time. We don't think we need to.
You do. You have, you're being graded around the area where the bell is located. So all of the landscaping that's around there, the bell itself would be buried. Somebody's got to think about that.
Oh, okay. Joe probably has an answer to that then.
Okay, well, we'll let Mr. Pecora in.
I do have something to add. I've been trying to add it into the,
Yes, the parking lot. We kind of
Parking-
moved on from the parking lot. We just want a better explanation, sir.
I understand what you were saying.
Thank
I
you.
don't think you understood the problem of having, first of all, we're kind of packed as it is, and we're parking on the grass there, and we want to do it properly,
Okay,
extra stuff. And then when we have two services, we can't just separate it by more time and let it all come and go. That's just not the way it helps us with our people and their
Okay.
for their families. And very few of our families like come, like you said, because some will come early for a Bible study. You know, the wife will come early for a Bible study. The husband will come with the kids later. So now that's 2 cars, not one per, you know, it's so that
Okay.
it's not as
I
neat as
think,
what
I
you
think
said.
a better, the problem is that the way it was laid out for us raised
Oh.
more questions. For example, I guess they're building you a house, you're not gonna need a parking space. So
Right.
I saw that and felt very uncomfortable at the why is this? So I think if Mr. Tessie understands what we're asking is just explain it to us and tell us
Sure.
what the need is. And that's what we had asked last time. Mr. McRae, you still have your
Thank
hand
you.
up.
Oh, sorry about that. I think we're good. Thanks.
Okay, so yeah, we just want to understand it and do it in a way that builds confidence in how you're explaining it. Okay, now,
you.
did somebody have, yes, Mr. McRae, you had the question for Mr. Pecora about the bell.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
So my understanding of the elevation of the bell is that it'll be fine where it is. But obviously we could check that elevation and confirm that it either needs to be slid over to the right or it'll be fine. One of the two. In all honesty, I didn't even look at it, but I assumed that it was high enough to leave it where it was and not touch it.
Okay, I think you really should take a look at it because your grade goes from 7.5 about where the bell is, instantly raises to 8 and goes to 9 and 10 across the bell. So
That's
your bell will
sweet.
be buried and be in the way.
I have no problem taking a look at that.
Great, thank you very much.
I did resend to Patrick a more detailed list of the uses and times and how much is being charged and not charged for all of the uses. So I honestly don't understand the confusion because it's the list has been provided more than what is shown on the staff report.
I don't even follow that sentence. The list has double counts in it.
No, not the other organizations that use
Oh,
Living
yes,
Hope
it was
Community
there.
Church.
It was there. I was still not, okay, it's
Well,
still
it's
not
clear, it's clear that
Okay,
no
and-
charge for the use of the
Okay.
parking lot is,
For the farmer's market.
yeah.
Okay, I
No
apologize.
charge for Alcoholics Anonymous.
Okay, so Mr. Pecora, how do I say this? I have, I think it would still be worthwhile if there was a way that you could document that the applicant could document that because there is, there's some confusion in people's minds. I don't know how else to put that. Okay.
Can Patrick confirm that he just received that then?
No, I know that he received that. We have seen it, but what I'm saying is, there are people who believe and have said that there is rent being paid. So I just, that it's for profit. So I just somehow or other that you could lay the records, get the record straight, I would be appreciative.
Not a problem.
Okay. Okay.
As for, I would like to get into the parking count.
Let's not do that. I think Mr. Tessie understands, and I know Patrick knows where Nick and I are going. He understands it. And I think if you just give us a better narrative that explains what the need is, we can move on to other things. Okay, I'm very sure Patrick understands this because we talked about it at the briefing yesterday and I've talked about it with him since. He knows it isn't that we want to be difficult and not recognize the needs of the organization, but we want a decent count. And frankly, I was thrown by the inclusion of the pastor when we're building him and the associate pastor housing with parking. So that's so just, if you would just give me give us a really good explanation of the need for the expansion and why the 19 spaces that Patrick turns to you and says, well, yeah, that'll really resonate. That works. Because he he and I talked and I went through again with him what all the questions were.
As I indicated, thank you for that. Madam Chair, yes, we're going to provide, I understand, a narrative because that's what led, it's the narrative in the concerns that were expressed previously and again by Reverend Pankow and myself that led to their belief before I got involved that it was appropriate to expand. So that was determined by the church. So we're going to provide you the narrative that led to that belief that that was the best
Perfect.
thing to do.
Okay.
So I appreciate it. It's not,
All right.
so we don't have to beat it to death. While I have the
Let's not.
floor, when it comes to the parking lot, I'd just like to also point out that one of the issues brought up by the neighbor to the south of the parking lot was that we were not providing zoning required screening of the parking lot. As the result, as the result, and that was one of the goals of working with Mr. Paredes and also Joe working with the tree warden, there will be a evergreen tree. I think it has to be 40, whatever the percentage, but there'll be an evergreen tree screening program that will be with trees that are that can handle the salty environment, if you will, on occasion. So we are going to comply with that. That was brought up as a non-compliance. I think also, certainly Reverend Pankow could, in comment, he did engage because that was one of the questions come up. Have you engaged with the neighbors? So he engaged with a number of the neighbors during
On
this
the
interim
20th,
period.
yes.
Politely, both sides were polite to one another. Certain of them have certain beliefs that there should be changes beyond basically physical changes to structures. And also they asked for additional screening of the parking areas for the three dwelling unit buildings on South End Court. The screening elements to enhance screening are not an issue. Other changes in terms of the architecture or relocating buildings are not acceptable. They're just not going to be acceptable to the, and he expressed that very politely to the to the public. I assume some are here and want to speak. Finally, just in terms of technical zoning, there was the third building in with the garages was technically because we had to treat that side there as a street, the town-owned property as a street side yard, had to be moved a couple of feet so that we maintain a street side yard setback. So that's been corrected or in the process of being corrected so that we've satisfied the technical zoning requirements of the screening, the setback, and that setback from the street side yard that were raised. With that, I'm really done.
Okay. All right. So you're going to revise the landscaping. You're going to add more screening. It's a good idea. Mr. Pecora is quite familiar with the changes that we made to the landscape regulations. I direct Mr. Pecora to the language specifically for non-residential uses in residential zones, which I believe is what the neighbors were addressing.
Yes.
Okay.
We're aware. We'll be
All
in
right.
compliance. Thank you.
Okay. Any other issues now that we've gotten a little bit of the way through this? Any other issues on this before we turn to public comment? No. Okay. We're going to go to public comment now for the Church of the Living Hope. Just a question for you guys. I have a feeling that we have a lot of people who want to speak tonight. I am going to ask all of you to limit your comments to 2 minutes. Many of you have emailed us and we have read those emails. And in fact, we have because we've answered you. So we are aware. If you would summarize your concerns, try not to repeat what your other people have said. Give us the new concerns. And thank you for joining us. And here we go. Our first speaker is Craig Warwick. followed by, Amy, and you will need to identify yourself, Amy. When you come in, you'll need to put in your last name, followed by Robin Ducharme Pastore, and you will need to also spell your last name for the court reporter. Okay, Craig Warwick, if you would go ahead, and you'll be followed by Amy. 2 minutes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So once again, I appreciate you guys taking this. Yes, we did have a conversation with the church and his architect last week, and I thank you for that. Once again, they did not address any of the concerns for the neighborhood. I am very concerned about the impact of the new development near the plant, the water treatment plant across the street. Now, this new so-called design, it calls for a berm to be developed where you're going to be funneling water not only towards South End Court, but it will go up more towards West End Avenue. And you have all the sewage that comes through that treatment plant across the street from my house. And I did try to send an email today, and I don't think it went through because I want to show some additional pictures. You guys are looking to approve a house that is going to be directly built on a flood plain. No matter how you look at it, there's going to be water going across that water. If it doesn't get pushed down the road, it's going to be pushed down the South End Court. It's going to be pushed towards my house or towards the Hadley's house. That sewer treatment plant is going to get further empty their feces onto our lands. So the structures right next to it are already outdated. The sewer system is outdated. What's the impact of the new dwellings going to have on that? If you have more parking, you're going to have more people using the lavatories and stuff like that. What's the impact on the more sewage that's going to be coming through those pipes into that water treatment plant? And you're having, it just, you guys are looking to build something. You're not being, using common sense. I'm just concerned that the architect and the design of this whole thing could have been much better used.
All right. Okay. Thank you, sir. We may have some time when y'all are finished because I'm not seeing quite as many people as I thought would speak. Amy has her hand raised. You're next. Kindly say your last name for the court reporter.
Do you not respond to me or no?
We're going to respond to all together, if that's okay with you. Okay, Craig, and we'll let you back in if we have some time.
Yeah,
okay?
I do appreciate more time because everybody else on the panel spoke more about this than we have, and I don't think it's right.
I know, sir.
We have the right to have a conversation about this. This is our neighborhood.
Yes, sir, absolutely. But the folks on the panel are members of the commission. I'll come back to you. All right, Amy, if you would go ahead.
This is actually Tim Muldoon.
Okay, well,
can you hear me?
yes. Okay,
Yeah,
so if you
our
would
Zoom
tell,
is, yeah. So my name's Tim Muldoon. I am the neighbor at 10 South End Court, the abutting neighbor on the south property line. I just want to quick, if you'll indulge me, I had my comments prepared as to all the information we had as of 4 o'clock. And since then, we've now received a new drainage plan, a letter from engineering. None of this we've been able to review. So I'm going to withhold my comments, assuming that you're not going to approve this tonight. And I'll just address things that I can address intelligently with the information I have.
Perfect.
Okay. So I completely disagree with Mr. Tessie. Every neighbor has said that there are not people parking in the street. The only time the parking in the street is when the flea market happens. And my fear with the flea market is they're going to move it down into their expanded parking lot, which is now 10 feet away from my yard. So I just think, the damage to my property value, is immense. But in addition, I went out and we counted 3 times. There are 75 spots currently in the parking lot. They're claiming there's 68. There are 75. I invite the commission and staff to go and count. In addition, we've taken a picture of the lot almost every week since this application has come on, and there are no less than 12 spots 12 to 18 spots available every Sunday during service. There don't appear to be any cars there early, as the pastor had mentioned. So I think that is also a little disingenuous. And the just again with the flea market, expanding the flea market, and whether the church charges rent or not, there are now people going there, pizza trucks, dough trucks, farmers who are making profit. They're using this area for profit. So again, I don't think it matters whether the church charges rent or not. We're now dealing in a non-conforming use in our neighborhood. So I have a lot of concerns about the drainage plan. The new drainage plan actually raises more concerns. And I'd also like to mention that Mr. Paredes did not say they complied. They said they have come closer to compliance. So I just want to note that in the email that I saw at 4:30.
Okay. All right, thank you. Before Wayne speaks, Mr. Warwick, I just double checked, and it is actually not a treatment plant. It is a pumping station, but your issue, Mr. Warwick, is still one that we will take to our sewer department, and we will raise with them and ask them if there have ever been any issues. They're okay with this at this point, but we will ask them the specific questions that you are raising. If there's ever any history of contamination, any problem with this pumping station, we're going to follow up on it for you. Okay, the next speaker is, I'm sorry, Mr. Pankow has his hand up. Mr. Pankow, if you would just wait till the speakers are done. I know you want to address Mr. Landau's comments, but you can do that later. You're not here as an applicant at this point. We have 4 of them already. Wayne, if you would go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, you're not Wayne. Please say your full name and your last name.
Valerie Mays Keeney. I'm using my husband Wayne's video. I don't know why I'm not showing on the screen.
Well, that's up to you. You have to rename it on your computer when you're using your husband. There you go. Okay, go ahead, ma'am.
Okay. Yeah, we're neighbors on 5 South End Court, right across from the existing parsonage that was built in 1900. And we have concerns with the flooding. We have concerns with the design, and we have concerns with the farmers market. A few details about the flooding issue at West End Avenue at the corner, right where the proposed 5-bedroom, 4.5-bath house is going to be built, 3.5 stories with a deck and steps in the front. That's exactly where there is consistent flooding. So that is a major red flag. And of course, there's a lot of other structures being built there as well, and an astounding 13,619 square feet. The whole parcel along South End Court is on a slope. The soils report that Mr. DeAndrea has provided says that the soil in this particular side, where 2 driveways are proposed, has high risk for runoff potential. So all of those are major concerns. I think it's called point of concern number 1 on Mr. DeAndrea's report. And that shows that with respect to a 1-year storm, that the increased runoff would go from 4,563 feet to 5,861 feet. So huge concerns here because you have a roof, you have a deck, you have the front steps, lots of building, you have the slab, and we're very concerned, obviously, that the commission look at the flooding issues very seriously. We do request that this be extended. We request an opportunity to speak with the Commissioner of Public Works and Mr. Paredes. The design issues are going to have a hodgepodge here of 3 structures on the property, 2 of which perhaps go together, but in between you have an old manse from 1900 that doesn't fit. And all of those issues are a concern, as well as the farmers market, which unfairly burdens South End Court with parking and traffic issues, creating a harrowing situation to really back out of your driveway. So lots of concerns. And I reserve some time. I'm glad that we're coming back next time. If not, we request an extension to do so.
Yeah, we're going to ask for an extension.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Next speaker is Jennifer Andrews. Ma'am, if you would go ahead. Just go ahead and unmute and you're ready to go.
Okay, can
Jennifer
you,
Andrews. And then Craig Warwick is going to come back in, and I think that's fine. We seem to have gotten through the list. I thought we had more people. Go ahead, ma'am.
okay, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Great. I'm here on behalf of the Hadley family because they are at the Greenwich High School open house for their children.
Okay, we
They
have
live
the,
23 West,
Mr. Tessie, if you would mute, please. Go ahead,
oh,
Ms.
sorry,
Andrews.
sorry.
they live at 23 West End, and they had some concerns that they have never received any notice from the church about the proposed construction. So the fact that
Patrick, if we could check that 23 West End, go ahead.
so they have had no notice, and one of her big concerns are what will happen with the fire hydrants, because their house insurance is depending on that. Are those going to have to be moved because of what's happening? And obviously the flooding and the additional sewage that is going to come with these, 2 more apartments. They do have concerns about that. So I'm just representing them and putting their concerns out there. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Next speaker, Mr. Warwick, you are back.
Hi, sorry.
Hi. Okay, go ahead.
I'll just, like
Patrick, who's
the additional traffic that will be concerned with the additional parking spaces, with children walking across and back to the streets and everything. The sidewalk may not make a difference, but the traffic's going to make a difference. And then not only that, like I'm just going to keep going back to this house that you're trying to build a house on top of a water plane. It doesn't make sense. It's common sense to do things properly. Yes, there's going to be flooding. Yes, there's going to be more traffic. And, I've complained about driveway going into South End Court versus the church. They're saying they want extra spaces. If they get the extra spaces, they got a driveway they can go into their own property, not on South End Court. Less traffic coming off of South End Court. And I'm just more concerned about the traffic that goes through the area as well. Put speed bumps down the road. I don't care about that, but you're getting more water, more sewage, more traffic. Those are 3 no's, and a house being put up on a flood zone that you guys are not really paying attention to.
Okay, we are paying attention to it.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry.
FEMA regulations allow for this construction, and that's why it sounds like we're being very non-committal, because FEMA does allow, the federal agency does allow, and the state regulations on coastal areas do allow for construction. Maybe it shouldn't be like that, but it is, and that's our framework.
Okay, so I'm going to resend you the video I tried to send today. I don't think you received it.
No, we did not.
It shows a fire truck going through probably about 4 feet of water, and it shows the land underwater, where the house is supposed to be developed, at least 2 feet of water on the property, the exact same location where they want to build. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
What makes sense? The property or
that property gets a lot of water. It
Yeah,
makes
okay,
sense to me
perfect.
because
Yes,
they're going
thank
a foot higher than they need to. Thank you, sir. Next speaker is Robin Ducharme. I've heard enough from Ms. Ducharme that I can spell her name for the court reporter, but she should probably do it herself. Ms. Ducharme, go ahead. If you would unmute.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
So
can you
first-
see me or no? Can
No,
you see me?
you
Darn, I've been
didn't
standing
accept-
outside. I'm here. I've lived on South End Court
But
since
wait, stop, Ms. Ducharme. Take a deep breath. Say your last name and spell it for the court reporter.
Okay, Robin Ducharme, D as in David, U, capital C, H-A-R, M as in Mary, E as in Edward, of charm in French. You speak French.
Okay.
So I've lived on the court, as we've called it affectionately, since 1993. First I lived at number 11 in 1993. Then I moved next door to number 15. There is no 13 in 2004 on my child's 3rd birthday. I was hoping to show you, but I can't because it's dark and you're not seeing me. South End Court, I completely am grateful for your extension, as you stated. I'm grateful for Tim Muldoon's statements. I concur with Tim Muldoon 100%. In my experience since 1993, and as neighbor Louise Stick stated, she's been here since 1977, which she stated on the September 20th Zoom meeting that Valerie Keeney set up. Thank you, Valerie. Louise said, we've never seen overflow parking on South End Court, not one time. In fact, the basketball court that I donated, because I have 3 kids who love to play pickup ball, is a great place for kids. I've heard kids laughing. It's in the parking lot. So during the September 20th Zoom, Joe Pecora stated to the neighbors, you guys, no. This is not about need. There's no need for all this parking. There's no need for these buildings. This is all about the future. It's about the future. Now, I was driving a long way to visit relatives. I didn't speak on that Zoom, but it would be an interesting question at some point to ask him what he meant by this is all about the future. I was not present at the architectural committee meeting, but one of my neighbors was, and she stated that Mr. Pecora stated at that architecture meeting, the reason why they want to expand the parking is so they can build in the future. So when we revisit this, more buildings, I would like to request an irrevocable promise, a legal irrevocable promise, stating that once this building is approved and done, that's it, no mas, no more. Because I wish I could show you our neighborhood. I invite you all. And Dennis Yeski, God bless you, for saying last night what Justice Potter said about the 1964 case. You said, I fear that it will bring harm to the community. Like Justice Potter said, he had a gut feeling about that case in 1964, Jacobus versus Ohio. It was the same thing Peter Lowe said. You had a gut feeling and you were right. You were spot on. So come to our neighborhood. I live at 15. My door is always open. Come visit number 5 where I am now in case my mic didn't work. Come, our doors are open, and see the oasis that is here and look at what they are proposing and look at the empty parking lot. Come anytime. Thank you.
Miss. Thank you very much. All right, folks, I'm asking the commission for their patience. We've just got Ms. Mays Keeney is back. And since we had gone to 2 minutes and people feel very strongly about this, I'm just going to let everybody get a chance to get everything out off their chest. So Ms. Mays Keeney, if you would go ahead.
I really appreciate, thank you. I just wanted to mention a couple of other things. You know, why were the concerns about the design that were specified by the Architectural Review Committee not considered so important about the setback? Why not push it back to the house back to match the geometry of the house on the corner of South End and West End, Mr. Warwick's house? The height of the building, how it appears artificially elevated from the ground. So, you know, it's close to the road, the height, the loss of the visual corridor. What are the materials for the house? I can't tell from the plans. What's the siding? You know, I suggested a plan that would work with shared driveway, which would limit impervious space, but that church has rejected that. I asked for the more pushed back according to what the ARC wanted, and they've rejected that too. But what is the roof height of this building? ARC was unable to determine the proposed roof arc compared to Mr. Warwick's house at the corner of West End. So all of those issues haven't been considered. And the issue about putting a small curb along West End Avenue also presumably will mean that the cars that park there during the farmers market on West End Avenue will add to the parking problem on South End Court during the farmers market. So I think all of those are big problems from our perspective. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So in order to answer Ms. Mays Keeney's question and something that others have raised, the ARC made a recommendation that the applicant was not required to follow because the applicant was within the zoning regulations. We could ask the applicant to do it, but it is their choice. It is their choice whether or not they do because they are within the zoning regulations. So that's why the ARC makes, you know, a recommendation based on aesthetics, but it's not necessarily a requirement to follow it. Okay, I think I'm not seeing any other hands up, so I think we're done. If anybody feels like they didn't get to say something important, please raise your hand. I know Mr. Warwick was upset. Well, Mr. LaRoe, you work for the town. Are you upset about something?
There was a question asked of me, Madam Chair, during the discussion.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
So notice was, it is in the record. I'm just gonna show the list that was provided by the applicant. This, in the opinion of the applicant, is everybody who shares a property line with the subject parcel and is the 3 closest neighbors across the street. So, if you are diagonally, or if there's an interceding parcel between you and 30 and 38 West End, you did not receive a notice, and notice is not required prior to a meeting. It's prior to submission of the application itself. And so that was the question that was also asked, I think, over email. So.
Okay. All right. Folks, Commission, do you have the patience for just a couple more speakers, because they're back? And I think people are upset enough. Mr. Pankow, go ahead.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello out there.
Hello, Mr. Basili. This is our court reporter, everybody. Mr. Basili.
Hi there. I willingly, I've been going 3.5 hours and I could use a break.
Yeah, I thought we'd be over. You know what? What do you want to just take 5 minutes? We'll just stop.
5 minutes will be fine.
I mean, I did one of those too. So you want to just take 5 minutes, everybody? And then we'll come back and go through the rest. There are 3 people with their hands up. Commission, I know we've been through everybody, and then I just feel like the neighbors really need to get this. They need to vent and say their piece, and that's an important thing that we can do. Go ahead, Mr. Basili. I will stop talking. I'm muting now. 7:41.
Recording stopped.
Listen, folks, those of you who've already spoken,
Recording in
if you've
progress.
told us your key input, which you have, because you're all raising your hands now, and everybody's coming back for more, you are going to have another go at this. So I would rather, we now have 5 people with their hands up. I would really rather wait till, unless you achingly feel that there's an important point that has not been raised in this discussion, hold off until the next meeting.
Or put it in writing.
Assuming, well, we do have a lot of emails, or put it in writing, because I think we can't, we're hearing a lot of the people who have their hands up have already gone a few times. Mr. Fenn has not spoken yet. Cindy has not spoken yet, and Norma has not spoken yet. The rest of you have. So I'm just going to call on the people we haven't heard from, and then at the next meeting, we'll hear from the rest of you again. And please, we're here. You can always email us. You know, we check our emails morning, noon, and night. Mr. Fenn, go ahead. 2 minutes. Oh, yep. Okay. Thank you, Bianca, or whoever started the recording. Mr. Fenn, unmute, please.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So I'll make it quick. Just throughout this whole conversation, actually this whole process, I have not heard from Mr. Tessie or anybody from the church, and nor have any of my neighbors on this side of the creek. Now, I understand legally we're not abutting neighbors, but we do have concerns. So I'd like some actual concrete addressing the issue of a sound and a visual barrier. The most recent plan had something in there, it was very vague, talked about a phase 2. I don't want a phase 2. I don't want a screen put up after everything's done.
Don't worry, we'll take care of that.
Lastly, say, you know, the removal of the invasive species made the problem worse. So I think, you know, we should address that at some point. I just want to make sure that's addressed. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fenn. Cindy, if you would give your last name to the court reporter.
Hi, I'm Cynthia Smith, and I live next to Mike Fenn across the creek. I did want to mention, for example, they said also this thing about not notifying us and it's not legally required. However, when we filed for a variance many years ago, we had to notify the church and any property across the creek for what we were doing, which is minor comparison to what the church is doing. And so I don't really know why that requirement has changed. That said, when it comes to living in a flood zone, any property development definitely affects any of us that live on that creek. And what they don't talk about in flooding often is displacement of water. So, for example, when we were flooded in, it was like 92 or 93, somewhere in there, that flood elevation was around 11. And during Hurricane Sandy, many years later, it was also around 11. You don't get the wave action down in the creek where they do out there. But I know people that were not flooded in 92, but were flooded in Sandy, and it had to do with a lot of the property development in their neighborhoods and the displacement of water. And I just wanted to concur that with what Mike was saying about the screening. It seems like every time I look at the site plan, there are fewer trees being planted, and maybe they've changed it again. I don't know, but it seems like there are fewer trees, and the creek side and the screening and the use of the what I want to say, when they have microphones. I mean, we hear a lot, and there are times where it has definitely kind of invaded what I'll say is a residential neighborhood. And I just didn't really expect a church that is not paying taxes, and I'm not suggesting that they do, but to do this amount of property development is a little bit shocking, I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy. Norma is next, and if you would kindly spell your last name for the court reporter.
Kerlin.
Hello. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, first, I wondered if there was any possibility of using the pumping station area for overflow parking, should there actually be some overflow parking. Then you don't have to put any more pavement down. You don't have to worry about drainage, anything like that. I would appreciate it if somebody would look into that and give an opinion one way or the other.
Okay, all righty.
I have
discussed that. Go ahead.
I have worries about the intersection of the Palmer Island Drive and South End Court after or during the construction and after the construction of the 3-car garage with the two apartments on top. I see that as a potential accident area, and I would like to have somebody, whether it's Mr. DeAndrea or somebody, take a close look at that. And I think in some letter or another I wrote to you, I put in details of how many cars you could expect and the bad conditions that could occur in icy weather and so on. I do think that's an extremely dangerous intersection, and it could be remedied by moving the 3-car garage farther north. We've talked a lot about flooding and so on, but going hand in hand with that is trying to find attempts to or possibilities for avoiding additional pollution, both of Longmeadow Creek and of the wetlands on the other side of Palmer Island Drive. It's really the Spartina grass, and that's what saved us. It certainly is what saved me and my home during Sandy and the 1992. That protected us, and let's not destroy that.
Okay. All right. I think I've got all that. Thank you, ma'am. So for the rest of you, come back to our next meeting. If you feel like there's something we didn't hear, please email us. As soon as you send an email in, Patrick puts it into the public record. If it's at a funny time of day, I will distribute it to the commission If it's not during business hours, I distribute it to the commission. So just write us and we will share it. And we have read all of your emails. Mr. Pankow, you've had your hand up patiently for a while. Go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I wanted to just say, specifically, Mr. Muldoon was saying that we are making comments that were basically lies. And that is just something I feel like should be addressed. That is inaccurate, that he's lying. And to say that I've been watching all summer long, which is the low part of a church attendance period, and not take into account the entire calendar year. And we're well packed out even now, and we're still growing. So it's like, I think that was very disingenuous on his part. So that was something I just wanted to make sure that I think you guys all understand that, but I think we wanted to make sure that you don't want to look at, oh, they don't need it because it's in the middle of the summer when all the attendance goes because everybody leaves. During the bulk of our year, it's more than full, and we are unfortunately having to push to the street. And we're trying to help the community, not hurt it.
Okay, Mr. LaRoe?
I just want to remind everybody that we should refrain from personal statements in
Yes,
this. So
especially.
please address the comment and not the commenter, and so we don't have to have the back and forth. So
Yes, thank you for that, Mr.
I don't think anyone has reached that point yet, but if it does,
Well, I think when suggesting that people are lying is a start that we don't like to do. So thank you for that, Patrick, for reminding everybody that we just say, no, I have a different view of this statement and it's as follows. Okay. I think we're good. All right. So Mr. Tessie, there's a list here. I had a question for you, Patrick. How does the noise ordinance apply to a church use?
It is obligated to meet the same noise regulations as residential structures, as this is in a residential zone.
So if there is something amplified, and I think those of neighbors who are listening right now, the person, I'm blanking right now. Somebody mentioned there being noise onto their property. It would be helpful for Patrick to know at what time you have that spillage, what time and day of the week you have that noise spillage from the church property. That would help, because there is a town noise ordinance, and that will help us figure out how to support the church in complying with town ordinances. So if you would just write Patrick and let him know. I hear it at midnight on Friday night because they're having a rave. Whatever, nobody laughed except Mary.
I'll laugh.
Okay, so just feel free. Patrick only gets several hundred emails a day, so no, just kidding. So just write Patrick and let him know. These are the times when the noise intrudes. Noise is not supposed to cross into your property.
That's
Ringing bells is a different thing.
Beyond a certain decibel level.
Beyond a certain
Correct.
decibel level. Thank you.
correct.
So beyond a certain decibel level, there are standards for the decibel levels that across property lines, and Patrick just needs to know what he should report to the first selectman's office, because that is not our job. So, okay. Mr. Tessie, there's a long list. I'm sure you took notes. You know what the commission had been asking for. I think when you come back, very clearly that people want to really understand the screening that you're proposing consistent with the regulations. I believe that it's us that should discuss with Mr. Feminella whether there's any question. I don't think the town is going to let anybody use the pump station for parking because of the liability issue, but we will raise it with him. But in the meantime, whether there've been any incidents at the pumping station, one of the things is that was raised consistently is this issue of expansion of traffic. I I don't know how you'd like to address that when you come back. The sound barrier, people are gonna write Patrick and let him know what's going on with the noise. Noise, screening, fire hydrant. There was a question about the fire hydrant, the drainage. I missed that comment in Mr. Parides' report that that it's partly satisfies the drainage standards. I've got to go back and reread that because Mr. Parides doesn't sign off unless it does meet them. Okay.
He said, it said it was a resubmittal prior to zoning permit. So there
Yeah,
are outstanding issues to resolve, but
And-
they can be done prior to zoning permit,
Okay,
not
and
prior
he will
to
get,
final.
and he will get them resolved. Okay, protect the wetlands, so your plantings and your screening planting could do a lot for protection of off-site, of any off-site contaminants as well, the way you plant. So that's a thought. Moving the garage was raised, Palmer Island Drive, you can address that when you get back. That's my list. Anybody else got anything more?
Well, the elephant that's been discussed ad nauseum, which is the parking issue.
Yeah. Okay, I think we're not going to talk about it again. I think it's clear.
Yeah.
What we're looking for, narrative. And I would also suggest, I know you guys did some outreach. I believe it was Mr. Pecora on the 20th of September. My sense of listening to the frustrations of the neighbors is that some more outreach would not be unwarranted, that you might want to consider that as well. Try to see if you can get people comfortable with where the church is headed and feel like it is a good neighbor and part of their community. Okay, I don't have anything else. Anybody else?
No.
All righty. Okay, so Mr. Tessie, would
Yes.
you be willing to give us an extension?
We will provide you with an extension. During that period of time, we will be providing a very robust response across the board, both legally, narratively, and pictorially, meaning with our plans, including updated site plans. So yes, as we've said ad nauseum, we want to be good neighbors.
Yeah.
And be respectful. And I think historically, you haven't seen issues with the church raised. The expansion here is needed. As was pointed out, when it comes to the buildings, we're only building in terms of the floor area rights, development rights, about 1/3 of what could be built on this property. And there's no need to, I'll just make one comment about parking. People want to say they're concerned about traffic, but we should have less parking. So that's incongruent, obviously, but most importantly, I'm glad we aired everything out. I'm glad everyone had an opportunity to speak, and we look forward to coming back to the commission. Thank you.
All right. I'm sorry, Mr. Tessie, but your client is
Want to speak?
He
can have the rest of my 2 minutes.
Go ahead, Mr. Panko.
Yeah, I'm just trying to understand your last comment that you want us to hold another gathering for the neighbors.
It's up to you. I felt
To,
like
to listen to the comments that they've made, the same comments, and they just disagree with our discernment as to what's best. I want to make sure that I understand what you're asking of us.
I'm asking if you can see a path to improving the relationship with the neighbors and to finding and building consensus, and whether you can make this something better than it is at the moment. If you don't see a path to that, that is, of course, your decision. We
Right.
don't require you to do anything like that, but it's whether or not this can be turned into something that is positive for the future and that emulates the values that you wish to propagate for your organization.
Okay, thank you. I think that what we've done has tried to take into all the comments written and otherwise, and then we just disagree with that. I'm trying to figure out a little bit of the process. Maybe you can help me understand of how many times do
Sure.
we go back over.
Well, it's kind
I
of
guess
like a
I can
marriage.
answer that
No, Mr.
to my
Tessie,
client.
I'm having
Go
fun
ahead.
with this.
Go ahead.
So,
Yeah.
Mr. Pankow, I kind of see it like couples counseling, marriage therapy, whatever you want to do. It's whether or not when you do conflict resolution, or one of my favorite areas is polarity management, where people disagree completely and they're on opposite ends. Can you find some areas of agreement? Can you build consensus about certain areas, ignoring the fact that Mr. Tessie and I have been duking it out for 20 years? But I do so with the greatest of affection and respect, of course. Right, Mr. Tessie, even when I call you Mr. Hagney. But
be
it's
Mr.
just
Hagney.
whether or not you can find a way to turn this around and build something more positive where you're finding areas of agreement and consensus. If you can't, you can't. It is what it is. But if anyone's well prepared to do it, it would be a pastor. So
Or even to try to lower the temperature.
exactly. That's really what we're saying.
I agree with you, and I
Yeah.
don't even understand some of the temperature, to be honest with you, because we have had conversations with people, and then things happen here that are very different. So we will try our best.
There you go.
Yes. Thank you. That's great. That's what we ask you to do. It's the same. I don't know if you heard us earlier tonight. We were listening. We were having that same diet. We had the same thing with an applicant, which was come back and talk to us so we can dialogue, because right now we vehemently disagree with you. But we want to hear where you are and see if we can latch onto areas of agreement where we can build a future together.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, everybody. We'll see you when we see you then.
Does
I
that include us?
No, you have to
Yes.
stay for the decisions. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Good evening.
All right. Goodbye, Mr. Tessie. Goodbye, Mr. Pecora.
Mr. Bazil.
Mr. Basili, goodbye. I know you had to, I know, because there's a moment when you have to stand up. I was crawling down the stairs earlier. Okay. Thank you for your patience.
All right. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Here.
Okay.
Good night, Moon.
Okay. Who wants to go first? First of all, no, before we go first, I hereby move approval of the August 5th meeting minutes.
Second.
OneDrive. Okay, Mr. Lowe has seconded. I would take a voice vote for unanimous consent. Aye.
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 Anybody objecting?
Well, there's one from the grumper.
He just I did not say it, Mr. McBride.
I'm adding that to the book.
Yeah, no, our book is long. Okay. So then the next thing is, did everybody have a chance to look at the proposed
calendar? Yes.
Calendar. Does anybody object to the proposed calendar?
No.
No.
Okay. The next thing. Does anybody would anybody like to discuss the appointment of Patrick Cabrino, right? Carino.
Ever or right now?
No, right now. We do things right now. ARC. Would anybody are you guys okay with a motion?
Sure. Sure.
All right. Let's do this with everybody. Is that okay? We can do it with everybody. It's not
Are you nominating him?
I hereby nominate Patrick Carino to the Architectural Review Committee. In so doing, I make the comment that Mr. Hine found him well qualified to participate in the ARC and was enthusiastic. At the same time, I noted today that other people without architectural backgrounds have been applying. And I would suggest that although this person seems to be very well qualified and suited, that we really focus future members on folks with architectural design, graphics, landscaping backgrounds as we go forward, because if we don't have the professionals on the other side, I think it'll be difficult for them to get traction. So I therefore make that whole long motion and wait patiently.
Well, do we have to agree with that last statement of yours?
Nope, you can just
Okay.
say I agree with Carino and.
Right, well, we're voting on him.
Yeah.
Okay.
And do I have a second? And do you wish to modify my motion to exclude the long ramble?
No, let's
No.
vote.
Okay, do I have a
Second.
second? Okay, Wells has seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any objections?
Aye.
Okay, Nick, you feel that there should be no member without an architectural background?
I don't believe that he's qualified to actually
Okay.
render opinions on architecture, design, lighting,
Yeah.
landscaping, yada, 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 that we entrust with ARC.
So what I would say is, let's give this one a shot since we've all agreed to it. But I agree with Nick that it's a very valid concern for the ARC, and that we not look at anyone else that doesn't have architectural, those credentials. They have to be credentialed. When you think about how people reject ARC's comments when they come from like folks that are super qualified. Okay, now.
Let me
so we
ask
did-
you, let me
yeah.
ask you a question.
Yeah,
Let's get off of ARC for a moment, but say someone comes onto this commission, because we're missing a person allegedly, and we don't like him, or one of us it behaves in a way which is inconsistent with the collective
can't
ethos.
remove us.
Yeah, can we be voted off the island?
No, we can't.
Yeah.
We can't be voted off the island. However, in all honesty, I've asked 2 people to resign from ARC in the past.
I thought you weren't going to tell anybody about that.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
I have
well.
asked. Well, it was many, many years ago now.
Well, you asked
6
me.
years
No,
ago.
I'm kidding.
There is a difference between us and ARC, which is what Nick is pointing out. If we read the zoning regulations and we read our applications and we do our training, we are in a good position, and we have this brilliant staff. We are in a good position to comment on applications. ARC's just got to know the stuff. They have to know architecture. There is no book of architectural guidelines for the town like we have zoning regulations.
But if their chair feels that this is a sound additional perspective that he senses a need for, I think
Agree,
we need
but-
to listen to that.
I agree, and that's why I moved it, because I knew that Nick with how long were you on ARC? I always ask you.
Oh, 14 years, something like that.
So Nick, with all those years on ARC, had real hesitation. I hesitated as well, but since Hein is the chair and Hein felt good about this, that's why I moved it. Because he's the chair. So, okay, who wants to go first?
I will.
Okay, go. I have notes.
Parsons Road, right? 173 Parsons Road, PLPZ 2025-323. Final site plan special permit applicant seeks approval to construct a new single-family residence, stormwater management system, septic system, and associated site improvements results in structures that are in total of 150,000 cubic feet in volume on a 2.5 acre parcel in the RA2 zone. Whereas the required property came before the commission as a pre-application at the 4/8/25 public hearing under file PLPZ 2024-099. Commission finds that conservation issued comments dated 9/20/25 indicating recommendations to the application. Health Department issued a memo dated 9/26/25 indicating approval of a 5-bedroom primary septic system. Zoning issued comments on 9/25/25 indicating no issues. DPW Drainage issued comments dated 9/25/25 indicating resubmittal prior to zoning building permit. Wetlands issued a permit dated 1/23/24 under file 2024-009, and EMAC issued a memo dated 9/7/25, indicating a disappointing review. Therefore, a motion to approve the site plan noting the following: prior to zoning permit, the applicant shall provide specific actually, they talked about the detail being, the planter being removed, correct?
The planter should be, should be shown as removed and a
Yeah.
revised site plan submitted with the
Okay.
planter removed.
Got it. Prior to zoning permit, the applicant shall provide an updated soil and erosion control plan indicating removal of proposed stockpiles that are within the upland review area. For conservation comments, the applicant shall attempt to include more plantings above what is required in their wetlands application. For conservation request, the owner shall discuss with planning and zoning staff a formal commitment to an organic land care management plan on the property. And conservation comments highly recommend all construction activities within the upland review area be minimized to the maximum extent practicable in order to limit ecological impacts during construction. And
Let's actually have them sign off on the new proposed stockpile locations.
okay, that's fine. And the applicant shall address any and all remaining staff or environmental issues.
Anything else that we missed? Got the planner, the stockpiles, the landscaping reviewed by P&Z. Did you say the wall?
Missed the wall.
Okay, so.
You want the wall out? The
No,
wall
we
to
want
stay.
it to remain. And the historic stone wall to remain.
I'm not too sure how historic it is. Looks pretty brand new to me.
Okay, well, the applicant told us it was old. We can ask staff to take a look at it and.
I'll just Google it. You can tell it's not a farmer's wall. If somebody went out of their way to actually construct a nice, pretty stone wall. Not not stack stones, so.
Okay, he says it's drywall.
Mm.
Okay. How do you want to word that, folks? And no?
Actually, I have a different issue, so let's finish this one.
Okay, so how do you want to word that? How about just very simply staff to review the stone wall and make determination with applicant as to disposition of the wall? How about that? And
Okay.
then the next one is, did you say the thing about conservation has requested applicant to consider organic land?
Yes.
Okay, I missed that. Okay.
I
that's it.
wasn't here. Did we resolve?
You're not seated. Oh, you can't talk.
Right now I can't talk?
No, you're not seated. You can't. talk.
Closed. It's closed.
Closed. You can't talk.
Goodbye.
God.
Okay, Madam Jones.
That was actually what I was going to bring up, the organic.
Okay,
management.
I missed it too. Okay, Nick says he said it.
Per conservation request, the owner shall discuss with planning and zoning staff a formal commitment to an organic land care management plan for the property.
Beautiful. Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
That was Mr. Wells. Mr. Wells is second, and Mr. Wells, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Yeski,
Aye.
Ms. Jones,
Aye.
Mr. McRae.
Aye.
Albin is also aye, and with that, motion passes 5-0. As to the application of Mosher LLC for a final site plan and special permit to construct a new 2-unit residential building on an undersized parcel with front yard parking on a 6,013 square foot parcel at 33 Mosher Street in the R6 zone. Whereas the lot size is under 7,500 square feet and the BZR requires a special permit for such a 2-family structure in the R6. Whereas the applicant is also before the commissioner per section 6-155 as part of the parking is within the required yard. Whereas previous structures have been removed and the 2 new units are each proposed to have 3 bedrooms, a single car garage with 2 outdoor parking spaces for a total of 6 spaces on site. Whereas the FAR data in the application documents and architecture drawings and calculations do not match. Whereas the DPW Sewer Division issued comments 9/24/25, noting the applicant and owners must submit a letter acknowledging their memorandum. This acknowledgement was submitted on 9/26/25. Whereas DPW Engineering commented on 9/25/25, requesting the applicant resubmit prior to zoning building permit approval. Whereas Conservation commented on 9/23/25, requested the applicant consider EV chargers or to or at least provide the opportunity for future homeowners and renters. Conservation also asks that the planting plan be revised to include additional native plants for non-native selections and for tree protection to be installed, as it appeared some trees were removed during demolition of the home. Whereas both Conservation and DPW noted coordination is needed with the town's tree warden for trees and plantings that are in the town right of way. Whereas the Inland Wetlands Agency issued a green sheet sign-off dated 11/18/21, indicating no action is required with their department for this application. Whereas the commission finds the provided parking within the front yard setback has been sufficiently screened. Therefore, this application is hereby approved with the following conditions to be addressed prior to zoning permit. The applicant is to confirm FAR data, coordinate plantings in the town right away with the tree warden, integrate more native species into the planting plan subject to P&Z staff review, consider infrastructure for EV charging. That's it. Anything else? All right. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Wells is seconded. Mr. Wells, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Yeski?
Aye.
Ms. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. McRae?
I'm seated for Mr. McRae.
Oh, that's right. I knew that because I just made the motion. I guess I'm tired. Okay. Madam Jenkins, how do you vote?
Aye.
Albin is also aye, and with that, the motion passes 5-0. We are done unless somebody wants to keep going.
Can we have a dinner break?
Yeah, and we are to reconvene on
2-week dinner break.
on October 14th. The dinner break ends.
It's a big
No,
meal.
I take it back. It ends when the executive session happens, whenever Patrick finally figures out, because none of
Like
us.
Thursday morning is the minimal time for everybody. I will get a specific hour shortly out to you.
9
Yeah, you
o'clock?
have a,
Was 10 o'clock suggested?
I said 9.
9? We could do that too.
the only window I found, I was trying to move that other meeting that we have, you have a window at 11, I think, if that works, but.
Yeah,
I know
I
that.
can move I have a 10 o'clock on Thursday, but I can move it. That's fine.
Okay, all right. Madam Dygert,
Did you need to vote on the draft calendar?
They
no,
did.
they all said it was fine.
Yeah, there was it was like consensus.
Unanimous
Oh, okay.
consensus.
I didn't know if you
Unanimous
needed to take an
consenty thing.
official vote or a motion. Okay.
It was
You can say that
the lack of complaint, I think, is what the how.
See you guys later.
All right.
Bye.
Good night, everybody.
All right, thanks for all the
Night.
good
Good night.
time, folks.
Thank you for everybody.
Bye.